Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Worcestery Council Theatre 3000. I am Bryan O'Donnell. I'm here with Travis. Travis, we're waiting for our co-host to stroll in.
Working too hard, guys. Stop working. Come hang out with us.
Yeah, quit working and start killing your soul by watching the Worcester City Council. We have
$730,000 at a time.
We'll get to that. I just want to shout out a couple new followers we got yesterday, Sass Channel and Schoonix. If you are here, thanks for joining. Consider subscribing if you feel like it. I don't care. We got a great guest coming up a little late. Look at that.
Oh, wow. That's dope.
Camber. Unbelievable. Thank you so much. Just like that, folks. I love those alerts. I really do love those alerts.
Same.
I gotta tell you. Yeah. We had a great guest coming up a little later in the show, I think in the 8 o'clock hour. Rob Bellata is going to be here. Talk a little bit about what's going on with the TIFs and the diffs and the ballpark. Suffice to say, it's not good, I will say. And it's also not surprising because it's not something that people weren't talking about pretty much from the beginning, and definitely within the last year. I know that we had a big discussion about it amongst ourselves in the show when it started to become clear that they weren't probably, without some major changes, going to be able to rely on being able to afford this ballpark without coming out of our taxes, which was promised that it would never come out of our taxes.
It was going to pay for itself.
Yeah. And now that we have a developer pulling out of their diff, then we're on the hook for $730,000. And I think once Bill and Brendan are here, they'll have a little more insight about how that stuff works, what exactly happened here. But yeah, it's not great. And shout out to everybody on social media that's been talking about it this week. I know I've seen Nicole Apostola and Kevin Kassen talking a lot about it, and I've learned a lot from them. And also, again, have seen their quote tweets of them in the last 4 years saying this is exactly what's going to happen, and why are we pretending that it's not? And then it did, and now we're here. So we're gonna see. We're just gonna see what happens.
I feel like this is the year of learning from past mistakes, or learning from,
or not. Apparently not. Yeah. We're in the find out section of American history, and we're gonna see. We're gonna see what comes of it. Not a ton on the agenda tonight, although there are some items. There was an order or a petition that I liked. I mean, first of all, Brian Dutremble has one on there.
That one just makes sense.
Yes, of course.
Updating the library's time card system.
Yeah. 8S is a great one. Fred Rushton requesting City Council request City Manager establish a citywide plan to establish at a minimum 30 pickleball courts by modifying some of the underutilized tennis courts in the city, and making sure that a minimum of 8 courts are at or next to the 4 city junior high schools to help expand at the school the sports opportunities for middle school children. Yeah, middle school kids famously love the sports that their dads play.
Yeah, that's why highlight is still so popular.
Mo Crow, hello, welcome. But I know there's a couple other things that popped up that are probably important, but they didn't jump out to me. So
got him, Brian.
Must be.
Got him.
Yeah. Oh Oh shit! You know what? Good thing Gary Rose is not here to see that. That would break his heart.
He's turning over in his grave. I know he's not dead, but
I don't know that. I don't think that the exterior door is big enough to get a pickleball net into Polar Park. So we lose out on all the pickleball. Yeah, we lose out on all the pickleball revenue by not building the friggin' door big. Here's the other thing. I know I talk about this all the time, but it's worth bringing up in light of the fact that we're talking about the fucking Polar Park debacle again. It's an open air stadium. It's an open air stadium. 3/4 of the building is opened to the outside world, and you can't do a concert there because the door is not big enough. Half of it, you can walk in at any point. You can just walk
ramp that shit.
You just walk into Polar Park whenever you want. Sometimes I just walk in there at night, and every time I walk in there at night, other people are there. Like, yeah, there's like couples making out in the stands. It's
that's special.
Stupid. We're stupid. We're so stupid. We're all so stupid. Speaking of stupid. No. Nice hat, Brendan.
Thank you.
Brendan's here. Looking fly.
You already got a camo one. Dang.
Where's the camera? There it is. There it is. Yep. Gotta move fast, Travis.
You know,
goodness me.
Life's gonna blow you by. Gonna move fast.
Yeah, apparently.
So we're taking over the ballpark? It's ours now?
I mean, what's the point? You can't capitalize on it. Like,
so
baseball's a dying sport. Apparently a stage can't hop the fucking 4-foot fence out in center field to set up a concert out there.
I know we've talked about it before on the stream, but even just the idea of leaving it open in the off season, like you have all of these local businesses that have invested in being there. Mm-hmm. Just give them sell booze, sell food, and let people keep making out in the stands like they already are. Just like heat lamps, and you have the best outdoor venue in the city.
Right. Stupid. Bill, what do you think is stupid about Polar Park?
Pretty good nachos. Can't lie. Nachos are
a nacho helmet. Yeah.
Is it worth drawing down almost $1 million from the general fund? Yeah.
For nachos, I would do anything for nachos.
Yeah, I would spend all of the city's money for nachos.
So we got a few minutes, moments until they start the meeting. Bill, can you give us just a little bit of like what happened with the developer, what this means, how they were able to pull out of this diff, if you have any insight into that?
Yeah, so I looked up the original contract that has this provision that the developer can break the TIF agreement, and there's a lot that needs to be explained tonight about that, but it was very consciously, I'd say, written into the fine print of that agreement that the developer can break the TIF off after FY 2024, and then the city is obligated to negotiate a better deal that incentivizes development if they exercise their option to break the TIF. So it's like, why wouldn't they do that?
Right. Yeah.
Meanwhile, they've not built almost anything that they promised to build. They built one residential building, but they promised to build another residential building, an office building that's in the left field part of Polar Park, and then hotel. So it's bad that they're breaking the TIF after not doing any of this stuff.
We got nothing for it.
Because the whole premise of it paying for itself, and the reason why we're almost $1 million in the hole right now, is because the DIF district arbitrarily drawn around Polar Park, which is almost entirely Madison Holdings' responsibility to build up. There are other developers involved, but it's mostly Madison Holdings. They're like the primary developer of the DIF district. if they're not building stuff up, then all of the projections for the entire 30 years of this paying itself back are wrong. It's like
Right.
the math automatically doesn't work out once the developers don't build. But there's nothing like there's nothing in the contract that says that, you know, the city can just force the developers to build. Like, if the market turns, like it has since 2018, the developers can pull out. That's what critics of the deal have been saying, that like I'm not like I wasn't alone back then saying this kind of stuff. Like, economists
Right.
were all over the map saying this is an extremely dangerous deal because it's built on all of this development going exactly as planned.
Right.
So the fact that Augustus wrote this into the contract back in 2020, that the developer can pull out of the TIF agreement in 2024, kind of means that, like, he wasn't just being stupid and optimistic. Like, it feels like he knew that the pay for itself thing wasn't going to work out.
Right, and they also were untruthful about that, like, about the prospects of it of us not getting charged for it, of us not getting put on the hook for it, because they knew that this provision was in there. And that there was no earthly reason why the developer wouldn't take it. Like, that's malfeasance.
Right.
Like, to pretend that.
Participation. A person may speak no more than 2 minutes.
I'm
appearing on the agenda, so you'll have 2 minutes.
Let me get that contract, and I have it loaded on Google Drive, so I'll send a link to that in the chat, and the page number of where that is. It's wild.
That's the part that should bum everybody out too, more in terms of leadership in the city, is the mentality that you have to go into a project like that, hanging your hat on not just one developer, but the economy from a development perspective essentially staying stable that for over that longer period of time. That's like the first time you go play blackjack and like you're up a little bit. You're like, oh, if I just keep doing this, I can be a professional blackjack player. And like by the end of the night, you've throttled your entire life. You're broke, you're homeless, and you owe the casino a shit ton of money. That's just amateur hour in terms of understanding economics. And could it have worked out well? Yeah, of course it could have, but that wasn't a guarantee, and that's a lot to hang the city on.
If you don't willingly put yourself over a barrel to developers who are, you know, historically the most trustworthy people that you can ever possibly deal with.
I think that's to Bill's point about you know, the number of economists that spoke against the overall proposal. I mean, there obviously were people who were just you know, questioning the ballpark. That's its own form of problematic. But when it comes to TIFs and diffs, you look at areas that take them on, and they tend to underperform on a longer period of time because you're playing artificial games with tax bases, and you end up throwing a wrench into long-term organic development, which we also didn't have too, right? I mean, it was a Superfund site, but this isn't necessarily going to be better than.
Right. The rest of the canal district
was flourishing.
Great. Yeah.
Right.
And now it's questionable to make that. It's not as flourishing as it was.
You can have all the sustainability.
Right. But free parking for the holidays, Bill, if you didn't hear.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
To all EV cars.
No, not free parking. Reduced parking.
Oh, just reduced parking. Yeah, nothing's free in Worcester.
Well, I mean, now that there's no development, the parking meters in the DIF district have become very important. So we're going to start seeing some buck wild parking charges. I think.
Gas-powered cars aren't going anywhere. I'd like this council to remember that. In the long run, it will cost more money. And talk about, you know, you have to burn.
Can you guys see my cat sitting directly in the glow of the lamp?
Charging stations
like a heavenly angel.
If you really want climate change,
Thank you.
Maybe they should cut out all the hot air.
Whoa, Fred.
Whoa, what a zinger.
Coach.
Got him.
It's in the way that you use it.
Get out of here, boo.
What did it tell
I
us
do
about
hope that
again?
anyone that's planning on running for council this year, though, that's they keep that in mind. The management of the council in terms of the ballpark and agreeing to the diffs that created that district.
Yeah, absolutely.
The funny thing about this, I put it in the post. Yeah, a little bit more stream audio.
She's also not in the microphone.
Yeah, right.
I shared the link to the to that deal.
Oh, it's on page 22.
Yeah.
Is where that little proviso is.
Sorry, but you were saying?
The last year, the city manager is on record saying that if they need to appropriate from the general fund, they need to come to the council for approval. The way the current memo is written, they say that it's a loan from the general fund to the diff, which is crazy. It's like you loan yourself money. Yeah, I gave myself a loan from my debit card to my credit card.
Thank you.
But so the fact that this is on as an informational item, and there's no request for a council vote to do this is pretty interesting.
18.
What are you
The
doing?
item is asking for increased services to support people with housing insecurity, including increased shelter capacity during the severe.
And then
winter
come to
months.
find out,
But this is saying
Dennis
all year
Dowdle,
long, but
the
also
guy
for the
behind
temporary shelter
Madison
for
Properties.
the registry of motor vehicle.
he
And it's
is scooping up
requesting that
residential
the
properties around
library
Holy
extend
Cross
the
and then
hours
Right.
so that
evicting
will
people.
have a
So
place
instead of
to go and stay warm.
building the
library
developments that he
closes at
promised, he's in the
5:30.
Holy Cross real estate game.
That's when the temperature starts.
That's where the real
to
money's
drop.
at.
Yeah.
So it would make sense.
Was it Kevin
if the
Cassend said that he was
library
acting as a
was
shell
able to stay
corporation
open
for
longer
Holy
Yeah.
Cross?
so that
for Holy
they could
Cross,
stay
yeah.
warm. Thank you.
Brendan, nice hat. Look at that.
Good evening.
That's a really nice hat.
My name is
Glad to meet
Kevin Fisher.
I just
want
ordered
to
some
let
more of
the
those. We'll have some more
council
camo
know
hats.
that, I am now the new president
Travis
of
very
the
graciously
Commonwealth
put that
Group.
logo into Hunter Orange.
Speak on an item
formula.
on here.
Nice.
Ooh.
I'm going to speak on item 9130.
Worcester's own Midwest
My
princess,
question
Bill
is that
Shanner.
The last time
Damn right.
present, we
Yeah, I've been known to
asked
do the
about,
redneck stuff a time or two.
the interest that was with the funds.
Bill,
that
if people
was
want to get the new
granted,
merch,
so, which I'm trying
where
to
should they
find out
go?
the follow-up with that. I haven't
Bill
heard,
Shaner
what the interest was
BigCartel.com.
on that particular item. amount
The hats
that- the
will
money
be
that
in
was,
a couple of weeks.
given
And
to
I
the
ordered
city
more
from
winter
the
hats because those
Attorney
are almost sold out,
And
I
that was
think.
it.
But there's a bunch of t-shirts. Grab a t-shirt.
Those t-shirts are sick.
Yeah. A long sleeve's
Hi,
awesome.
my name is Mark Wright, and I'm the vice president of the Commonwealth.
Yeah, I might have to order a 2X of the Worcester Sucks Detroit shirts.
Yeah,
If you still got any.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Thank you.
Name's Charles
Ah,
Lester,
this
resident
guy.
City of Worcester. On item 8.30,
He just
I'm
announced his
sorry,
council vote.
9.30,
I don't know if you guys saw that.
and
Oh,
another
really?
item on the
Yeah,
metal detectors.
Charles Lester running for council.
The first one is on the ballpark. We came a couple of months ago, and we wanted to know what happened to the 500,000. We never got an answer for it.
So the
We
500,000.
would like to know
some background on this. Mayor Joe Petty,
money's
as a
still
campaign
there,
promise,
how much
apparently
interest
promised
is
this
there.
guy a community center,
because it was supposed to go to
and hasn't come through.
black
on that.
communities. It didn't say BIPOC back then. Next item is the metal detectors.
That's incredible.
I truly think
Yeah.
we need metal detectors.
So
Councilor
when you
King,
see
thank you,
him
brother.
get
We just broke a
angry.
fight up. I think we need metal detectors. Let's
Did
keep
Charles
our
and Christian
public
just
safe.
break up a fight at City Hall?
I hope we get metal detectors
That-
here.
so I was gonna ask
have
because
many
the
airports.
counselors weren't most of the
look at all
councils
the
weren't in the
vulnerable
chamber
places
when
where
they started.
Our citizens are.
Does anybody have any idea what
For
happened?
me, I even like
Let's
to
see
put
if,
it in front of the
Marco-
schools.
Was it a
I saw-
false flag
Just to make
operation
sure
to
everyone's safe.
make
Marco
sure
was
that,
looking
enough
out
for the
into the
airports.
hallway when they were
It
doing
should
the
be safe
pledge,
enough for our
like he was
children.
trying to see something, and yeah, everybody was taking their time getting in. But
Good evening. Ellis Cropper, member of the Commonwealth Group. Speaking on item 9.
I thought he was talking about like the force.
Little different spin. You know, really looking at women and minority-owned businesses. How can
I
we
just want to
ensure
put it
that,
out there that
you know,
if
that's
there was
the,
a fake fight
equity.
designed to
You know, it shouldn't be
you know,
that the state
create,
has to sue
create the
companies for
circumstances in
not
which
doing
they
what
could
they said
get
they were gonna do. Because at the
metal
end of the
detectors in the
day,
building,
that
then
money came back to the city,
I think we all need to be looking at
and
Mo
those
Bergman.
businesses were still cut out. So, and I know
Deals with
we're gonna
criminals,
give it
by which I
back
mean
to those
cops,
businesses,
all the
but
time.
when is that going to happen, and how can we ensure that equitable,
All right, I have
you know,
some.
inequality happens?
Rick Rushton's in the house.
businesses?
Jeez, he making a comeback
That's
too,
my
Bill?
biggest concern with 9.30.
Oh no.
Is his brother
sorry.
Fred?
Where's Rick Rushton? Which
Right
one
there.
is he?
Blue sweatshirt.
8T. We'll talk about.
It's older than the last time we saw him, Rick
staff
Rushton.
Members that know how to deal with
Okay.
mental health. That's why so many people.
Marco is on
behind
Blue
in
Sky.
City Hall
Just
sleeping
followed
out
me
there
today.
Because you have young staff members, this only curriculum they need to get the job has never been arrested before. They do not know how to deal with meltdowns. So when somebody's having a meltdown, they threaten to kick them out. That's why so many people sleeping in City Hall, because you have staff members that don't know how to deal with mental health. That's working at these shelters.
All right, so someone was yelling
and these
"fuck you" out in the
kids
hallway.
dealing
Apparently,
with grown
somebody
people that's
spray
suffering from
painted
mental health.
David Webb's
And when you have a
name.
meltdown, you should not get thrown out in the cold because these people.
Again, I want to look squarely at Mo Bergman.
Thank you.
That's a real false flag.
Yeah.
Is your name, see your residence, and item number?
Oh, this
You
fucking
wanna talk
guy.
about?
Yeah, the homeless issue in Worcester.
Jesus Christ.
Is your name? and City,
John Masliviak,
City of Worcester?
City of Worcester, yeah. So, the past 3 years,
Holy
the
shit.
homeless
Yeah, that's
issue
where I'm from.
has been increasing.
Whatever you say, Joe.
Since the hidden pandemic.
Hidden pandemic?
I hear a lot of people talking about opening up the library,
Somebody
later hours,
spray
somebody
painted
spray
David
painted.
Webb.
the registry. It seems like there's a shortage of places to go for people. And
Wait, are
my
you saying they spray painted
suggestion
David
was,
Webb, like, or spray painted his name? Like, either
You know
is
what?
wintertime,
weird and
I just-
hilarious.
especially
I just looked back on the message that I received,
opening up
and
the
it's
high
unclear.
schools at night
So-
and letting people
Just say, I'll
stay
just,
at the
you know,
high
this is a
schools at night and
developing
leave in the
story.
morning.
David
So
Webb's
they
been
don't
tagged.
have to deal with the
Either
freezing
David Webb has
cold.
been tagged,
But
or
that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah, that's right.
Hi,
Yes.
My name is Miss Hicks, and I live in Worcester. I wanted to talk about 8T. My grandson just aged out. You know where he would have gone if I didn't have a place? Queen Street. I know you guys are having to listen to other people, but you don't get these homeless people. They're going into dark places in their head. You have no idea. I'm out there with them. I've been out there for 8 years with them. So I know a lot. I'm very, very angry right now because of what happened out there, so I'm trying to calm down. But I'm tired. I'm tired of coming up here. I'm so sick and tired of it. I'm tired of people complaining about the homeless. Where are they supposed to go? Why don't you stop coming in here with ideas what they're supposed to do to help them instead of closing everything down? And now they're not going to open up the RMV
Yes,
till
Jill.
December. The library is not responsible. I keep coming up here. Why are they trying to, everyone's trying to put that on the library? They're dealing with so much. And I came in here and I spoke about this. I was a part of EPICA, Ex-Prisoners Organizing for Community Advancement.
I didn't hear that
Jobs,
about
not
the
jails. We passed
RMV
some
shelter
bills.
not
We got
opening
free
up
phone
till
calls. We got the threshold.
December. That's
Not 250,
really?
it's 1,200
Yeah.
because of us, because we spoke. So we had a house called Epica House.
Is that on the agenda?
For this right here. Everything. People don't want to see these people on the street. They're eyesores, but you don't want them to have any kind of basic human rights. So let me tell you something. I'm not ever going to stop talking about Queen Street. And I don't know who approved Queen Street in here. Them workers are not regulated. They're not core trained, anything. So I'm not gonna stop. My grandson, my granddaughter, this is their hometown. They deserve to not deal with this shit. Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Trying not to cuss.
Can you wrap up
I'm
your
sorry,
comments?
but that's it. That's all I
Thank
gotta say, so.
Thank you.
Sick.
What's your name?
He is spray painted.
Thank you for not swearing. Sorry, I'm shaken up. The owner of Piccolo's just spray painted my face out there. Yes to 8L, getting criteria for speed humps. Yes to 8Q and 8R. The tax seats were taken out.
The one time.
I read this, wrote this
The
down.
one time
They're taken in
that no one was
2013,
filming.
2014. It's been a decade.
What the
Yes,
fuck?
The owner of
you,
Piccolo's
and
just
let's
spray
allocate
painted
funds
my
so our
face.
librarians do not have to use punch cards. Regarding 10C, through the chair, you all want reports on this, but are not gas stations.
Holy shit, I
Item
gotta tweet
10A,
that out
master
immediately.
transfer of the public's wealth into private pocket. The Chamber of Commerce and City Administration told us again and again that Polar Park would pay for itself.
Man.
It looks like that's an outright lie.
I was
Not to
really
belabor
hoping
my
that it
points
was
from
going
last
to be
week, can we make
the
sure the
name
city
David
solicitor
Webb on the
brushes up on
wall,
contract law
or
too? When a
a
local
caricature
homeowner
of him.
owes the city
How
200
naive
bucks,
of
they
me to
put a lien
think
on
that.
the house.
Why would it have been
Latino
something
nets 50 million
just so,
Sox and
just
we
regular
get
outlandish like
$100,000
that?
Deficit. Not very best managed city in the
I would,
nation,
can
that's
somebody,
not.
if
On the same
anybody, if
note,
anybody
I
is
am
down
here in
there or is
support of
close by
8T.
down there, can you go
Our
see if
cost of
there's like a
living has
silhouette
increased
of him
consistently
in spray
year after
paint
year,
on the
while
wall?
Our city has fewer resources than it did a decade ago. I think we all can see that the unhoused population of Worcester has increased, so I appreciate the UMass researcher who put this petition forward.
This is
Queen Street is staffed by abusive, problematic people. Smock homes are notoriously unsafe. The temporary winter shelter got unboarded today, but its 60 beds was woefully insufficient last year, more so this year, but our manager has acknowledged this. I learned that the shelter has a 6 p.m. curfew, so a large part of the unhoused community that's trying to get back on their feet is systematically excluded from this public comment. I talked to people yesterday and this morning, and they need bathrooms, places to charge their devices, and an increase in mental health services. The city needs to learn
Who
the phrase
holds
dual
their
diagnosis
campaign
and
events at
create
Piccolo's?
centers that address both addiction and mental
Isn't
health.
that where Shaun went down and
I'm
almost got
wondering
beat
if there's
up?
any
That's
updates
absolutely
from
where
the
Shaun
city
got
council
kicked out of.
requested the
Yeah,
city
that's
manager
where
to
Shaun-
address the lack of public
That's Shrewsbury
restrooms,
Street. That's Candy
especially
and
considering that they don't seem to be a problem to provide them for
Donna's
visitors.
spot. I
Also,
mean,
while I'm here, I would
That
love
was
an
a K2
explanation
event
why
that
that
he
was
got
the
kicked
first
out of.
time I've
That's
seen
right.
cops without body cameras on in the past 7 weeks.
Thank you. Please,
Freedom is not free.
go ahead, next.
Jesus
What's your name,
Christ,
your
this
residence,
meeting
your
is
number?
surreal
My name
already.
is Lily Vogt. I'm a resident of Worcester.
What is
this
happening?
The opportunity to speak. I'm
Freedom
a
is
medical
not
student
free.
at UMass Chan, and I'm a newer resident of Worcester.
Welcome.
But over the past few months, I've
Get
grown
used
to
to
love
it.
the city of Worcester, and I'm here today with a group of medical students, both new and old to Worcester, to speak about the growing number of individuals in our community who are experiencing homelessness.
freedom isn't free.
I've had the privilege
Who was she yelling
of
that at?
shadowing some members in the community who are
don't-
working to
no
solve
idea,
this problem,
truly.
and I have seen
Was it at
how
David, though,
it
as he
has
was
an
leaving,
impact on
or?
the health of our community members. What I've witnessed has left
I don't know if he was
profound
backing up
impact on me.
David.
A daily struggle to access basic
All I know is
necessities
where
such as
were
warmth
you?
and safety that most of us
Where
take
were
for
you
granted. Can you imagine
that
the
Tuesday in
immense toll that
September?
this takes on someone's physical and mental well-being? This experience has only strengthened my belief in the critical need for proper support and shelter. Without it, many are left to face unthinkable challenges.
I mean, we
Witnessing
can.
the struggle has driven home just how urgent it is to address these issues. And I
You look
think
kind of
you've
like
heard
you
a
look kind of
little
like
bit about
Gautier
it
in
today.
that music
Not
video.
only for the well-being of individuals in our community, but for the
Who?
whole of this community.
David Webb.
Worcester is the second largest city in New England, and it has one of the most competitive housing markets in the country. with a
David's
vacancy
fortunate that he
rate of
wears
just
glasses.
1.7%
You don't want spray in
as of
your
May
eyeballs.
2023.
No.
Since the end of the eviction moratorium, over 3,000 eviction cases have been processed.
Also, that's full-on
leaving
assault.
many without stable housing
Totally.
and
Yeah,
depending
yeah,
on
yeah.
shelter or
We're
homeless prevention.
we're not making light of that.
We need
What
zoning
happened?
that
We're
supports
just
the
saying it's
increase
the
of
fucking
shelters
funniest,
throughout
craziest
all
thing.
neighborhoods.
No, it's crazy.
can
I'm with
We
you.
need Worcester, the heart of the Commonwealth, shy away from the love that our community deserves and the support that it desperately needs. As a medical student, I urge you to prioritize policies that address both housing stability and healthcare access for those experiencing homelessness in our community. Thank you for your
Thank
time
you.
and consideration.
Thank you. What's your name, city residence, item number?
Hello, My name's Carolyn Dunderdale.
Instead, I think they're just going to keep kicking him out of the city common.
I'm a resident of Shrewsbury. So my name's Carolyn Dunderdale. I'm a medical student also at UMass Chan, and I also went to Holy Cross, and I have stayed over at homeless shelters, so I have experienced harsh winters myself.
The owner of Piccolo's just spray painted me.
That needs to be a T-shirt or a campaign slogan. We got to, yeah. If we have Robbie on later, we need to convince him that that's his campaign slogan.
Only for single adults. The Central Mass Housing Alliance notes that for this year, there's 1,000.
Is that his district? I think that's in a district, right?
Oh yeah.
And this includes
that's District 2, yeah.
Children who would be
I'm sure it has something to do with the Facebook post, right?
What's the Facebook post?
About the mural on David's house or business or something. He had some Facebook post about graffiti and things getting tagged.
A big question, of course, is where in the budget
I don't really know.
could fit.
That's
the department through which
maybe,
care for the
yeah.
is funded.
I mean,
Department of Health and
it has to.
Services published its fiscal 2025 plan.
You'd think so.
They had a planned decrease of expenditures of almost $300,000.
Biancaria had a campaign event there.
Considering that homelessness is up 20% in Worcester, there should be
we can ask Shaun who kicked him out.
That should be focused on projects that are going to help address this. We think that adding beds to the former R&B shelter would be a home run for addressing human rights issues and expanding an already successful project. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Get your name and city residence.
Hi, so my name is Shanil Santander. I am also a medical student at UMass Chan, and I'm a resident.
We had all these prim and proper medical students come down to City Hall to watch David Webb get spray painted.
A mobile care unit that provides
a new verb, as far as I'm concerned, like a new thing that someone does to another.
My shifts
but like, how fortunate that all these medical students were there to help David when he got spray painted.
Right.
Outside the van, waiting for their appointment.
Damn.
Assuming it wasn't a false flag operation. I'm big on false flags
tonight. A man was
tonight.
attacked while on a walk. Within just a few hours, my heart was filled with
I'm happy
hilarious to name the person.
Yeah.
The doctor I was following explained how homelessness
I'm
can be
happy
seen
that
as a health
this is great
risk.
that med students are
How
like
can you stay
showing up
healthy
and
if the shelter's
getting
bathrooms
involved.
run out of soap? How do you find peace if
I don't
your
know that we've
abuser
ever
happens to be living in the same shelter as
seen
you?
that.
How can you stay
much.
safe if being outside for long periods of time puts you at risk of getting attacked? I will never forget how the staff joyfully celebrated when 2 of the patients came in to tell us that they are moving on from the shelter. One person got a job, the other joined the military. The stories of the people moving on prove that investment in our shelters work. The shelters provide an environment to heal, find support, and regain independence. But there is more work that needs to be done. We need shelters for women and survivors of abuse, for people who are sober and need a separate space from those who are using. We need shelters that give people dignity and peace. By increasing the capacity of warming centers, we are not just providing a bed, but offering hope and opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sophia Bashir, and I'm a resident of Worcester. And today I'll be talking about the controversial Worcester Public Library. For many of us, public libraries offer a space for community enrichment and collaboration. However, for individuals and families who are unhoused, the public library offers so much more, such as safety and dignity at no cost. Earlier this year, the Worcester Public City Council met at the Worcester Public Library to discuss the issues of safety and the growing numbers of the unhousing population visiting the library each day. While it's imperative that every visitor of the Worcester Public Library feels safe, it's also important to not create further stigmas of the unhousing population in Worcester. Safety is a basic human right for all, including those who are unhoused. And while there have been efforts to focus on safety, such as implementing security, tailored staff training that can mitigate sort of the issues that come along with being unhoused, such as mental illnesses and other resources. We're here today to ask you for extended hours at the Worcester Public Library.
Just
For
throws up an
population
overlay
of
when you try and
just a
upload
little
it.
over 207,000 people.
It just does
the
that.
Worcester Public Library closes at 5:30, 3 days out of the week, including Saturdays. In the upcoming winter months, it's essential to have extended hours in spaces that host the unhousing populations. We look forward to working with you and thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you. What's your name, see your residence?
My name is Gulale Shah. I am a resident of Worcester. I'm also a medical student at UMass Chan, and today I'm here to speak about harm regulations, harm reduction regulations in our shelter to better support our homeless community. Recently, I spoke with the unhoused community at the AIDS Project Worcester, and I was taken aback by how unsupported they were medically. They don't have a PCP at warming shelters, and some of the unhoused people unknowingly take the exact same medications because they have different providers. So by increasing medical support in warming shelters, we can prevent avoidable injuries and stabilize people before they can get into housing, which aligns with the 2025 Worcester City budget goal, which is to promote and increase accessibility of social safety nets and disrupt the cycle of chronic homelessness. I urge you to view these services not just as a lifeline, but as an investment in our community's humanity and future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, before we get to petitions, anybody want to speak that does not have a petition on? This is the only time you can speak. So we're going to move on. So, okay, so anybody else want to speak? Okay, we'll move on from this section. No, we'll get to you, Mr. Rushton, in a minute, but okay. Okay.
Mr. Rushton?
We are on...
They didn't have any
7E.
online
Motion
participants?
is we open the hearing. Roll call.
Guess not, or are they just not doing that anymore?
Mr. Mayor, I think we do have somebody on Zoom.
Oh, we do. I'm
Yep.
sorry.
So I'm going to try to meet the resident now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. What's your name, see your residence?
I'm Samara Ebinger, Worcester resident, and my comments are regarding item 916, the informational communication relative to a Worcester Road and Action Plan. This report from the city administration states that important information can be gained from the City of Boston Road and Action Plan. I agree and will point out some information in that plan not mentioned in the Worcester report. The Boston plan is very intentional about eliminating, to the greatest extent possible, the use of second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides, also known as SCARs. SCARs are highly dangerous poisons that are decimating the populations of birds of prey and other wildlife all over the country,
Damn, they don't
including
size
here in
correctly.
Worcester. Pets and,
New
God
overlays
forbid,
are
even people are also
Not as
sometimes
good.
poisoned by
Inconvenient so far.
SCARs.
We need to figure out the tricks.
Because of this, the city of Boston and at least 10 other communities in the state have either completely banned or greatly reduced the use of SCARs on their property. It's not clear to me from the Worcester report if and how the city uses SCARs on public property currently, but the city should end the use of these dangerous poisons if they have not done so already. Also, any public outreach materials about rodent control developed by the city should include information about how dangerous these poisons are and to discourage their use. Thank you.
Thank you. I think one more person.
Mr. Mayor, we got one more speaker. Natalie Gibson, we're trying to meet the resident now.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to say thank you very much to the UMass Chan medical students. I fully back everything that they've said. They are out there. They are working with the unhoused community, as well as a few of the other
thanks,
people
Eric.
that spoke, especially one woman who
That's so
took
nice.
in her, I believe she said her nephew. They do need more places to go. And the housing crunch is getting worse. It's getting cold. And also yes, we do need the metal detectors at City Hall. I don't recall what number that was. I apologize. And the ballpark, yeah. Where is all the money that it was supposed to be coming in and helping Worcester? And
Troubler.
for now, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the motion now is to open the hearing from 7A to 7E. Roll call. Councilor Bergen.
Apologize, a point of order. I misled somebody in the audience thinking that there was no opposition on 7B. There's somebody that'd like to be heard. So I don't know if you could consider suspending the rules.
No, we're going to come in. This is what people speak on it. Okay, 7A to 7E. Roll call. Motion to open the hearing.
No.
Council Bergman?
Yes.
Council Calorio?
Yes.
Sajia?
Thanks for the bits,
King?
Bry.
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson?
Excited to hear
Councilor Yan?
you speak on your
Council Hayda?
petition.
Yes.
Council Pasillo?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Council Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor
We
Petty?
need spray paint
Anybody
detectors at City Hall.
opposed
Is
to
what
any
we
of these items
need.
or have any questions regarding any of these items? What's your name, city residence?
Sorry,
my name is,
we're going to charge you
Budgetary,
for another
and
month.
I
8
come
months.
in, not so much in opposition to 7B, National Grid's conduit on Jackson Street, but the fact is that the city, over the last 3 months, has constructed a brand-new road and sidewalk on that location, and it was finished last Friday. So this new conduit that's suggesting would come from a manhole on the new street and go towards the sidewalk and then down the brand-new sidewalk into a new manhole on the property. So what I guess what I'm suggesting is that a more cost-effective solution may be for all parties is if they could just bore a line from the manhole to the property line and then come down the property line.
I'd like for this guy to
inside
come
the
in
property
randomly
line,
and start
on the owner's property.
critiquing city snow
That would
removal,
eliminate,
but like not in
ripping
costume,
up a
but in
brand new
character as Santa
sidewalk,
Claus.
Which is,
Oh,
kind
hell
of a
yeah.
bad PR piece when the city people see a brand new street being ripped up in order to bring a conduit in. So that's the first issue. I'm not in opposition to the conduit and the new transformers and so forth and so on. But I'm just putting the question up, is there alternative way of bringing the conduit onto the property?
Plow the snow
And the
off
other
of
one
the
is
street,
that we've been
not
trying
leave it
to
there until the storm's over.
have conduits not on city sidewalks because they prevent any future treescapes from going onto the city. And we were very successful, I remember, when Council Howell was a councilor, to do that on May Street, where it was a win-win situation where
Speaking of Santa Claus,
Spectrum
guys, I
put
saw
their conduit on the
we saw
property
Red
side
One this weekend.
of the side. It was an 8-foot sidewalk.
Yeah.
On the property side
Johnson
of
and
the
Chris
sidewalk.
Evans.
Therefore,
Christmas
Spectrum
movie.
was able to replant all of May Street with
Oh, was it?
trees and so forth, and a new
I didn't hate it.
sidewalk and a planting area. So it's
Didn't
kind
hate
of
it.
institutional memory seems to get lost. But
Do you
the
think
idea of
it's
putting,
hilarious? They
conduits
shot
on
it 3 years
sidewalks,
ago,
and especially in this case where it's a brand new one.
and it just came
I
out
like
now.
them to
And
look at
apparently, it's
alternative
because
solutions
The Rock is so weird.
rather than ripping up
That's
a brand
really
new
what it comes
street.
down
I'm
to.
not in opposition to the proposal. Thank you.
Is anybody from National Grid on the line?
It was
Mr. Mayor, I don't see anyone from that.
it was originally supposed to release
Approve this
on
in
Amazon
DPW,
Prime,
subject to DPW.
and then he saw Oppenheimer, and realized that Red One could be just like Oppenheimer in IMAX, and that they needed to do a theatrical release of it. And the way he convinced the producers to change the plan and do that was that he sent shirtless photos of himself from the IMAX theater watching Oppenheimer and said, "Imagine Red One on this screen," and then they did it.
For a specific area, I believe. So I don't know how you can do that without having a plan corrected, presented by the National Grid. I think we can hold the item until such time that the National Grid comes in with a plan that addresses the issues that Frank suggests.
Okay, so we'll hold B, we'll do 7A to 7E minus B. Roll call.
Listen, the general public is not always right about what
Yes.
movies they should and shouldn't see in the theaters. I can't be
Council King?
governed by that.
Councilmember Carlson?
Yes.
Council Yan?
Yes.
Council Hayda?
Yes.
Council Pasillo?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
I think the
Council
general
Toomey?
public was
Yes.
pretty much right about Metropolis, though.
Yes. Petitions.
So
8A
much so
to
that I
8C
just don't
refer to
want to
Public
see it.
Works.
The
8D to 8P refer to traffic and parking.
The general public
Council Bergman?
didn't know what they were
Council
missing
Colorio?
Yes.
Council Haji?
by not seeing
Council King?
Megalopolis.
Yes.
And
Councilmember
dodged a
Carlson?
huge freaking
Council
bullet
Nguyen?
by not seeing Megalopolis.
Council Ojeda? Yes. Council Pasillo?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Council Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty.
You know,
I feel like I'd watch
Yes.
Megalopolis on like 3x speed.
We'll come back to Mr. Corrigan's.
Might be too slow.
Okay, next up is, we have P and Q. Sorry,
It's so
we
sick. I
have
remember like
Q
years
and
ago.
R. Evan Corrigan requests
um,
transfer of One Spring Lane, currently held in
what's his
tax
name?
title to the,
He was posting
custodianship of the
like the
Worcester
books he was
Conservation
reading to
Commission,
write Megalopolis.
and also transfer of
And it was like Naomi Klein and shit.
553
And everyone was
Plantation
excited,
Street,
like,
currently
oh my
held
God,
in
he's
the
gonna
tax
write, like,
title,
a freaking
custodianship of the Worcester
masterpiece.
Conservation Commission. Mr. Corrigan.
No,
So,
no,
yeah,
someone
I
someone
think
should have
it's two
checked
separate
him.
issues because they're two separate parcels, not connected to one another, obviously. I could go over the big timeline with all the deed research that I did, but it's all in the attachments. It's easy enough to read. For the Spring Lane, I did, 100
Sorry,
years
I'm a
of
bit
deed history.
shaken.
It's not as
The
impressive
owner
as it
of
sounds.
Piccolo
Only
is just spray painting
deeds there. But the most important thing in regards to One Spring Lane is
He released a statement
the
on
tax taking
Instagram
date
where
was
he
2013,
talked about he doesn't really know what
and,
happened. He
one of
thinks
the
it's related to the
attachments that I have
Bianchara
that
comments, and he's going to the
shows
hospital.
an overview of what Spring Lane and Spring Road
What
actually
being
are.
carried
What
across?
be-
It refers back to
Sorry, thank you,
planned
being
streets from
Carrie.
the
Sorry, some
1910
comment about her being
plan.
racist.
And
Oh, well, yeah.
on there, you can see that those streets were indeed on paper, but in reality, they are actually just someone's backyard and side yard. And the parcel.
I know
in
it's not
question
okay to be
borders,
advocating for
other
violence
conservation
in
lands,
politics.
in particular held by
But if
the
it's
Irish
this
land trust
absurd
across the street from
kind
a
of
large
violence,
parcel
I'm
held
actually,
by the Conservation
I'm kind of in
Commission.
favor of it. Like if this is the new normal in Worcester,
so-
is like you just show up at
and
City Hall
when
and
you look at the
somebody,
Mass GIS, you can
somebody
see
of
that
note
there's
just
a
randomly
wetland
pulls out a
on
can
the
of spray
parcel.
paint and starts wheeling it
Ultimately,
wildly. Like
something doesn't sit in tax title.
Kinda
for
here
10
for it.
Years
Yeah, but this is the dumb
reason.
shit that's going to get spray
Generally
painted
means that
banned
it's
in
not
Worcester.
a highly
And they
developed
won't do anything
parcel,
about the real
considering it has
culprits.
wetland,
They'll just
considering
ban the
it's
dumb
next to
stuff.
other, conservation land. I see that there is value here.
Or it'll be even
for
harder for me to get it.
Conservation purposes there.
by the real
Regarding
culprits, you
5-
mean
5-3
the
Plantation
Mace
Street,
lobby,
all the-
or
the deed
Yeah.
history,
What is-
there
I have it out
shows
for
the
Big
three
Mace,
individual
Brendan.
plans
You
that
know that about
outline
me.
The parcels in that area.
I'm watching David
It just
Webb's
shows the
statement
ownership
now.
history, and I think it's the irony is the furthest back I could go was only in the 1970s, but it was another.
It was
tax
interesting to me
title
to see
for
just
the
how
same,
shaken up he is,
for
because
the
he's
same
usually so
land.
boisterous and so
What I discovered
confident
after
in the
I
way he
put this on
speaks, and he's
was
clearly
that in December
visibly shaken.
2023, the Conservation Commission expressed interest in this parcel and taking the custodianship. So I'm not sure exactly what goes on with that process, but the official request that I would have is just like the petition I had in March regarding Swan Ave, is to see if we could send this to the Conservation Commission.
Okay. So we'll take both those and send the Conservation Commission.
Yes.
Roll call.
Yeah. In the
Works, I thought it said?
in the statement,
I thought it said
in
it was
his
going to.
statement, he says that it was because he posted that. being
I say
carried.
Conservation Commission.
Okay.
I can't keep up.
Roll
Does
call.
this mean we approve of it?
Now I
or
gotta look
just
that
send
up.
it?
He's sending it.
Okay.
Roll call.
Council Bergman?
Yes.
Council Colorio?
Yes.
Council Haji? Council King?
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson?
Yes.
Council Nguyen?
Yes.
Council Ojeda?
Yes.
Council Pasillo?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes,
Council
yes.
Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty.
Yes, Frederick Rushing requests City Council requests City Manager establish a citywide plan to establish a minimum of 30 pickleball courts by modifying some of the unidentified tennis courts in the city or establishing new courts similar to all the other towns surrounding Worcester. Further request the City Council work with the school administration to
Rick
establish a
Rushton is now
maximum of 8
pro
courts
pickleball.
or
What the hell is going on here?
next to the 4 city.
It's so fucking funny
to
that
help
Joe Petty
create
laughed while reading that line.
Opportunities for middle school children. What's
Frederick
your
Rush.
name, city of residence?
Frederick Rushton, City of Worcester. Welcome to the world of pickleball. It's growing. It's the fastest growing sport in
Oh,
America.
David Webb has a Substack
And there's
now?
a reason why. Anybody can
Stop
play
calling it a
Whether
sport.
you're an athlete or a non-athlete traditionally, you can play it, you can enjoy it, you can build relationships.
Why are they so fucked?
never met.
Pickleball is going to become the next
And
right wing fucking
Almost
influencer
every
bullshit.
city I've
I'm telling you.
played, I've only been playing since July.
This is the shit. He's been playing since July. And he's fucking evangelizing for it. That's some MLM fucking
Providence. I was
right
there
wing
one day,
psychotic bullshit.
Played there. 2 weeks ago, I was down in Baltimore. Baltimore, one park, they had 14. and they were all filled on a Sunday morning at 8 o'clock with people of all ages. And it's a growing community in the city of Worcester. In fact, one of the first times I got to play, I had to do what all the Worcester residents have to do, is to go to the towns. Millbury just put in 4, Leominster just redid 12. At 6 in the morning at Doyle Field in Leominster, there'll be 30 to 40 people playing, and they'll play till 9, and then they come back at 3 to 6 to 8, depending on where they are. Shrewsbury, behind Coolidge School, they're actually going to put in lights there, because all day, all summer, and all up to now, tomorrow morning, if you look on Playtime schedule, there's going to be about 18 people playing there. One of the first persons I met was Hamad, out in Northborough. He says, hey, you're from Worcester. And so there's a lot of us out there, but we're all pushed out to the towns. All the major cities have them. We're a little bit behind schedule, just like we were on.
No, I'm leaving my wife. I'm getting married to Hamad because
But
all
we're
because
gonna
of
get there.
pickleball.
We just ask you to consider this, send this to subcommittee, because we'd like to be able to come before you. The last thing I'll say, there's an educational component that is a possibility here. Had a friend that went to college, is one of the major paddle companies, the major paddle company in the world, said he just did it in Baltimore County. He'll provide the nets, he'll provide the uniforms, he'll provide the paddles, he'll bring in top professionals to do days of instructions.
Top professionals.
The MIAA is going to be putting into the high school
Lord.
sports within the next 2 years, just like we did at Forest Grove with the field hockey, where it's now, you got girls going into Doherty now that are now getting scholarships. That did not exist for those kids, because the opportunity started at Forest Grove. So there's a huge community building aspect with this, and I would hope, and it's not that much, it doesn't cost that much. It's about $30,000 a court. That's it. I mean, you can put in 10 or 12 courts for $300,000, and you have city residents all day while it's warm out, or up till even now, playing. Seniors, a lot of seniors. But I really appreciate the time. I know you guys have
thank
had
you.
a long agenda here.
Thank you. You're supposed to speak in the 2-minute portion. I thought, but we'll suspend the rules. Okay.
We met in Northborough.
Yeah, I know.
We met in
All those
Northborough.
in favor, opposed to vote. Is your name, Sierra?
We're engaged.
Yes, good evening. My name is Ahmed Hussein. I'm a resident.
That
of
was like
Worcester.
the most unabsorbable.
As he's mentioned, we met at the
2 minutes of
Northborough
speaking.
pickleball court. I'm here to support the
I didn't
petition to
comprehend.
establish
Did he
a
call him
pickleball
Hamad?
courts in Worcester, so we don't have to go to the other towns.
And then the guy said that his, I mean, I know people use different names, obviously, and things like that, but it just seemed like that was very clearly, possibly, Rick completely mispronouncing this guy's name that he's real good friends with.
And I'd like more youth to come and to take him out of the street and bring him to the court. It's very healthy for the society. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So send that to Parks Subcommittee. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman? Yes. Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor Agier? Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Morrow Carlson? Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilor Ojeda?
Yes.
Councilor Basillo?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty.
Yes. Will you invoke the request of council, request the manager increase services related to supporting individuals experiencing housing insecurities in the city, including increased shelter capacity, duration, increased resources related to the temporary RMV shelter, extended hours of the Worcester Public Library, and address the housing shortage
Be right back.
crisis. And then we will send that to the manager, Councilor King. I said Councilor King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just felt compelled to speak briefly on this. You know, we had some individuals here who were speaking about the shelter over at Queen Street, and that has been a point of discussion here on the council for quite some time. A number of concerns from folks who were staff working there. I know I've met the folks in the leadership over there maybe a summer or two ago. And I'm just wondering through the chair to the administration, if you can kind of share with the public a little bit about Health and Human Service or city participation, to what degree with regards to the operations over there. There have been a number of significant concerns. I remember former manager Augustus paid a couple of visits over there. There were concerns about all sorts of things in that facility. And, you know, this isn't the first time in the last few months that we've had folks coming expressing their concerns. So through the chair to the administration, if you could share a little about the intersection with this municipality and that entity. I know it's a state oversight as well. If you could just explain that to the public so they don't think that we have not been paying attention through the chair.
Mr. Manager?
Through the chair to the councilor, we engage frequently with this
I
organization.
can't see where he's talking shit about Diana.
They're a
Peak
part
area.
of our permanent supportive housing group that we meet on a monthly
Just let it
basis to
go.
discuss issues around the city. But we've had conversations about the conditions not only of the shelter, but also any housing development that this agency currently right now manages. Our Health and Human Services Office has played a role in visiting, whether it's with inspectional services or with members of the homeless team, to review and kind of see what's happening, what's going on, and then provide some feedback to try to correct some of the issues that we've seen. So we are constantly in conversations, like I said, with this agency and trying to make sure that we improve the conditions not only of the shelter, but also some of the housing development that they currently own.
And, you know, there were some comments made about sort of the processes of how they manage the folks that are living there and how they respond to what's been presented as mental health crises or challenges or dysregulation. We know that here in Worcester, we can see by the naked eye what the unsheltered population is looking like. We can see the shifts, and those are without the real numbers. And it's visible and it's moving. And I'm just wondering, and I guess I'll make this as a way of a motion, if there's a way that we can get some information from that particular shelter as it relates to people that what they're calling asking to leave for X amount of period of time. If we can get some data on that, because I'd be interested to see how that reality matriculates into the community at large. We know that we've been waiting for a day center for these folks. I know there's been efforts made on that behalf. I'd like to make a second motion requesting that we get some timeframes and target dates for a day center because, you know, again,
They're just going to keep
just
talking about
on
opening a day
the
center
naked
without
eye,
doing it for
it's very apparent that there's a day
Right.
center that's manifesting and growing on Worcester Common, in our public libraries, outside businesses, et cetera.
California just passed a LA
one of the folks came in
passed a law,
today from UMass
where you
who
can't
filed
set up
this
a tent
petition.
within 500 feet of
They
like a
talked
school or a
about
public building.
accessibility
Brockton
for
just
folks
passed a
with
law
families.
allowing
And we are in the midst of
people
a
sleeping in tents to get
decision from the Supreme
$50
Court
just for the act of
where different municipalities are looking
so
at
Worcester could be doing worse,
criminalizing homelessness.
but
We've
not-
had
we're not doing
ordinances
anything.
passed in at least 2 towns and cities in Massachusetts where it does exactly that. And I've stated on this council floor repeatedly that I will not participate in the criminalization of our homeless population, our unsheltered. And when you think about families, we know that in our Worcester Public Schools, there are families sleeping in vehicles. We had a young person that came and testified some time ago, I think twice, with respect to their experience as a young person, as a youth, and the impact on their mental health, their impact on their schooling. So if we can get a report back with those 2 motions, it'd be quite helpful. And also in that report, I'd like a timeline of efforts to secure a day treatment center. In addition to that, it was referenced today in the public testimony around public bathrooms, for lack of a better word, public facilities. You know, we've had complaints over the years of folks just using any space and place to relieve themselves. And there's been items on the floor that I've put forward and others as it relates to having public facilities available. and what those sorts of things look like to get some feedback on those orders. I can go back and research them and file them specifically. But you know, it's sort of which came first, the chicken or the egg sort of thing. And we have a crisis, you know, and I again, there's been some planning. I'll certainly, through the chair to the administration, allow the administration, if they want to share prior to the report, anything relative to efforts in that regard. And if you could speak to the concern that was brought forward by these folks relative to the lack of accessibility for families in that shelter that they were talking about through the chair.
Okay. You want to get reports?
To the chair, to the council, I mean, there's a lot that's been happening in the city and all these fronts. I would probably be happy to bring back a report because there's so much information and so much details of work in this space that I think it'd be better
People
if
out
I
of the common
provide a
for
report,
smoking cigarettes or having tents.
Because otherwise I'd be here quite a bit.
I wonder if you'll
trying to
bring
explain
that up.
everything that's been going on.
Sure, I would like a report in short order.
You're in your second 5 too.
Yep, thank you. I'd like a report in short order, Mr. Chairman.
No, Gio, who was it?
Again,
I'll be right back.
the more communication, transparency we can have around this, I think the more credibility we have with our constituents. Thank you, Mr.
Dumber than Dr. Oz?
Thank you. So send that to the city manager along with the motions. Roll call.
Council Bergman? Yes. Council Caloria?
No.
Yes.
Council G.I.? Council
Oh,
King?
Yes.
God.
Council Carlson?
Yes.
Council Nguyen?
It is
Yes.
dumber
Council
than
Heda?
Dr.
Yes.
Oz.
Council Pasillo?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Council Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
8U, we'll come back to A in a second. 8U, Bryan Dutrumble, request city council, request the manager allocate funds to update the payroll system for the public, Worcester Public Library employees. I know we're in the process of doing the whole system for the city of Worcester, so we can file that. Roll call.
Council Bergman?
Yes.
Council Calorio?
Yes.
Council G.I.? Council King? Council Mayor Carlson?
Yes.
Council Nguyen?
Yes.
Council Heda?
Yes.
Pasillo?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Council Toomey?
Yes.
Mayor Petty?
Yes, Councilor Russell has asked that we reconsider
On 8A, Mr.
8A,
Chairman.
so reconsideration, roll call.
What is it?
Mr. Chairman, it's
8A is.
I'm gonna be honest with you,
Gio.
Gio, I highly doubt that.
61 to 63 Orient Street, so the motion is reconsideration.
I do think it's interesting how many. I want to see how many people
Council Bergman?
you will add to his
Chairman, I need a
cabinet. How
point of
many
order.
people in
Is
that
this
administration
Councilor
will have taken a
Russell
stone
wanting
cold
us to
scenario?
firm up
To
vote or
confirm.
To actually reconsider.
He wants, okay, hold up. The motion is to reconsider the item to talk about.
Yeah, well, I've had no indication of what Council Russell prefers on this, so I have to read between the lines, I guess.
We'll find out in a second. He's going to talk about it.
If we reconsider it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. So roll call.
Council Bergman?
Yes.
Council Calorio?
Yes.
Council G.I.? Council King?
Yes.
Council Mayor Carlson? Council Nguyen?
Yes.
Council Heda?
Yes.
Council Pasillo?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Council Toomey?
Yes.
Mayor Petty?
Yes, Councilor
Chairman,
Russell.
I just don't want to see this lost on the pending list. This is just a repair. It's not an installation of a traffic light. It should go to the administration to get repaired. That's all.
Okay.
So I move that it goes to
The
administration.
motion is to go to administration. Roll call.
Council Bergman?
Yes.
Council Calorio?
Yes.
Council G.I.? Council King?
Yes.
Council Mayor Carlson? Council Nguyen?
Yes.
Council Heda?
Yes.
Council Pasillo?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Council Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes. Okay, we have items that will be held under privilege. We have 9.36B, which is the allocation of the funding. We have 10A and 10B. 10A is the TIF policy, and 10B is Seaver Street. That will, when we get to it, I need 4 votes to hold that under privilege.
Could you repeat that list again?
Sure. 10A and 10B, which is under the privilege section, tabled under privilege from last week. So that is the TIF policy and the Seaver Street project. The reports on both of those. And so the motion is, we might just do now. Motion is to hold. Roll call.
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, it's Council King that asked to hold 10A and 10B. Council Bergman? Yes. Council Calorio?
Yes.
Council G.I.? Council King?
Yes.
Council Mayor Carlson? Council Nguyen?
Yes.
Council Heda?
Yes.
Council Pasillo?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Council Toomey? And Mayor Petty?
Yes, and I'm going to hold 10.36B. along with the tax classifications when we get to it, under privilege. Okay.
I'm sorry,
What is
Mr.
that?
Chairman. Could you
Okay.
repeat that?
10.36B.
10.36.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Where is it?
9.36B, did I say 10? 9.36B. Yep. Okay.
Who wants to tell Air Hadouken?
Is there any information, communication about the appointment of Nosiki?
Let's see. What did you miss? You missed this. See?
Oh,
Look,
God
look.
damn.
What is wrong with this thing?
I don't know.
I'm done. I'm done. Don't.
Gloria?
We're not
Yes.
blowing that
Councilor
joke
Gian?
again.
Yeah.
It's over.
Councilmember Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Nguyen?
David
Yes.
Webb got
Councilor
sprayed,
Ada?
painted in the
Yes.
face by the owner of
Councilor Solo?
Piccolos.
Councilor Russell? Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty.
That's it, really.
9.11A.
Pickleball
transmitting
courts.
information, communication addressing
Rick
traffic
Rushton wants
safety on
pickleball
a portion of
courts.
Belmont Street. I'm going to send that to traffic and parking. Prior to doing so, Council Ojeda.
There was
Council
some other. Was that the only disturbance that happened out there, or was there something else as well?
I just really wanted to stand and thank
A lot of
transportation
UMass
and
med
mobility
students
folks for all
showed
the
up
work
to
you've
speak
done so
passionately
far on
about the
Belmont
need
Street.
for homeless services
I
in
know
the
you
city.
guys have a ton of work to do, but again, appreciation for what you've done on Belmont Street. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Council Ojeda.
Thank you, Mr.
haven't
Chairman.
talked about the ballpark much yet,
Same
but
to what Councilor Carlson just
we're
mentioned.
again
Just a quick question on
waiting for
the
Rob.
changing of the,
Talk some more about that.
well, I
We
guess
got-
adding of the lines to the street.
No, not really.
It says here, I guess the word is rapid response actions. So there's going to be lane channelization. So there'll be some, I guess, some added lines and some, I guess it's 4 lanes into 3 lanes. My only question is there going to be signage included with this prior, like leading up to it? I'm not sure if I missed it when I was reading it, but if you could just let me, sorry, through the chair to the commissioner, if there'll be more signage leading up to this, especially, I can't get the name of the street, Shrewsbury Street, sorry, on Shrewsbury Street where it's going to go from 4 lanes to 3 lanes, and then identifying the dotted line through Belmont Street.
Mr. Raleigh, Commissioner?
Through the chair, that's correct. So this item is a fairly simple channelization change that actually
We can't hear
reflects
you,
how that intersection was striped many years ago.
It looks
Just
at some point
just
in
made
time,
cookies with
restriping
leftover Halloween
creates
candy
sort of a trap for
inside
vehicles
of them.
that it's really
Lucky.
when you're
Yeah, they're
making a
incredible.
right turn from one of 3 lanes
I made
to
peanut butter
understand
cookies the other
which
night
lane
that I've
you're
been chipping
supposed
off
to
one at a time.
align with. So this will be accompanied by signage that explains that. I should point out also that at the intersection prior.
Don't say that about
the
Steve
outside
Raleigh.
lane is already a right turn only lane, so there's really only 2 3
He's so
lanes in that
decadent.
lane anyway.
He's a whole
And
snack.
This is just continuing that to the next intersection, and then it allows, as you can see in the graphic, it allows for a better alignment once you make that turn, so you don't have 3 cars jockeying for position in 4 lanes.
Okay, and through the chair, as far as signage goes, leading up to it, coming down Shrewsbury Street, are they going to be made aware?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct. So essentially, there'll be signage, as I stated at the prior intersection, that denotes the right turn only. And then there'll be signage that basically mimics what you see in the arrow patterns in the streets, so showing 2 right turn lanes and then a left turn lane. And then there's what we call a skip line, which is that dashed line that goes through the intersection and helps a turning vehicle align with the proper lane.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Council King?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just first would like to express appreciation for the pedestrian hybrid beacon signals being considered
Yeah.
here.
Very,
Those is what I
very. We talk about it all the time. It's very silly.
To his hawk signaling.
Yeah, they're really good. And she brought them down to me with a little bit of ice cream in a pumpkin bowl.
You are so lucky.
I'm a very lucky man.
I have
And
similar
and
questions to what my
it's
colleague
especially nice too because I'm an asshole and I put Pyrex on the bottom drawer or the bottom row of the dishwasher, and like, you're not supposed to do that. And I just forgot and put a bunch of Pyrex in the bottom. And maybe ruined. No, it just if it has decorations on it. It has like graphics on it. It can mess them up.
Bummer.
Yeah, I'm really a drag on this family. She's holding it all together.
I'm glad she can oversee your shortcomings.
I don't know what
overlook.
I don't know what there is to like see once you look past my shortcomings.
Through the chair.
The other side of me.
A big helping heaping of trying.
A big train coming down the tracks.
Because it is, while it's a state route, it is under our jurisdiction, with the exception of the intersection at Lake Avenue.
Oh,
that
architect.
Signal in that intersection is under Mass DOT jurisdiction, so there's
Yeah.
an interface there. We have met with District 3 to begin the conversations about how some
It must spark joy as I load the dishwasher. I'm going to maximize space and efficiency.
what corresponding changes they would need to make as well to make sure that it all interfaces appropriately and smoothly.
Thank you. And through the chair, this goes down through to Lake Ave, correct?
Through the chair.
I'm the raccoon on meth.
So I know that in the
Just
walk
throw
that
shit
I went
in,
on
and then poor Nikki goes in after I stop paying attention and rearranges things so things actually get cleaned.
It was clear that there's a routinely traveled path in between the Leahy Center and I guess it's like a recessed parking garage, what have you, where
It's
folks are
it's
parking
Tillamook,
on the opposite side,
old-fashioned vanilla.
crossing across 6 lanes and what have you. Is there any specifics that we're looking there? Because I know even when we were out there, we witnessed it. You know, if you go online, you pull up that address.
That is a good
there's
tip, Brian.
picture
Thank you.
of someone actually crossing there, and it happened repeatedly. I'm just wondering if there's any, as I guess you remember, rapid responses as it relates to that particular area through the chair.
Oh yeah.
Through the chair. So we don't have rapid
There's a
response
place
per se for the mid-block crossing, just because
I don't know if it's a chain,
it's gonna
but they had a
require
couple of them
substantive
in LA
change
when I lived there
there.
called
It's gonna
Diddy
require
Reese,
coordination with
and it's
the
like
medical
it's
school,
a
of course,
it's a
to
Chipwich
address what you described, which was
restaurant.
an informal
Like it's a
walking
stand,
path
and
on campus
you
that,
choose your cookies and you
is
choose your ice
clearly a
cream.
desire line right
They
now.
put them together, and they were like
When there's
$1.50
people crossing all
each,
the time there.
and
So that's
you
why
could get
we
hot
identified
dogs
that
for $1
location
there
as
too.
a,
So we would just go
primary
there during our
area
lunch
where
breaks.
I'd never leave.
It was
Thank you
incredible.
very much. I know the mid-block
Fresh baked
crossings is
cookies. They would
something
bake the
that's
cookies all
extremely
day,
important,
and
I
yeah.
appreciate the work that's being done. Thank you.
This is before legalization. You were there.
Parking? Well,
Yeah. Well, there was medical there.
second.
Let's say I gotta believe they're doing a killer
Water
business now
department,
that.
transmitting information communication about the
Not in
unauthorized
Worcester,
removal
Gio,
of trees
sorry.
from private
No, this
property.
was in that was in
Some at
the
parks.
near UCLA, the Westwood neighborhood.
We can't have
You want
anything
that in
nice.
parks, or you want to file that?
We just
Somebody
split.
should do that.
Removal of trees from private property.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We can talk about it in parks.
Okay.
Hot
So
dogs and
we'll take,
cookies.
Since at the park and Mr. Clerk, 9.11A, we're going to send the traffic and parking. Take those collectively on a roll call. Roll call.
Council Bergman,
Dishwashers are
Yes.
the one thing that I like. It's
Councilor
non-negotiable for me.
Council King,
Because I worked in restaurants and at
Councilor Carlson.
Starbucks for like
Council Neon,
the first
Yes.
10, 15 years of my working
Yes.
life.
Council Pasillo,
And
Councilor
I
Russell?
just
Yes.
won't
Councilor
wash dishes
Toomey,
by hand. I won't
and
do
Mayor
it.
Petty.
Yes. Next item is transferring information communication of the institution.
Yeah, but Insomnia Cookies charges you like $60.
Yeah,
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
I know I'm embellishing, but it is still expensive for
it is
cookies.
expensive.
Let the communications from
Yeah,
the
these cookies
city
are incredible, though.
manager on, at the same time.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
I asked
She doesn't
if
even know.
we could take the communications from the city manager's agreement
Oh, with WPA?
at the same time.
Okay.
From
I don't
WPA,
know. I may have to make an excuse.
Yeah, we can make that happen.
to also
I think
talk
Brian left his
about
purse at the
the,
studio.
institutional
Or a necklace.
master
A necklace,
plan.
that's more.
Sure, so we'll take along with that 9.30A. Okay.
Yep, great.
What about
So,
pierogi?
We'll talk on this.
while I think that it's
I got paid to design
good
a
that
sweater, like a holiday
the city
sweater
manager
that's
and the
pierogi design.
administration has come to
Wow.
an agreement
Jaji was
with
selling them like hotcakes.
WPI.
Like hot pierogi is worth.
Certainly, we're in a better place than we were originally with WPI, and looking at these dates go much further out, and I'm happy to see that also the tax consequences on these properties will reflect the year that they're in, and that they don't stay stagnant where they are now. I think, Mr. Chairman, one thing that I'd like to say is, first of all, thank you to the Law Department for coming up with a basically draft, if you will, or some options for us to look at drafting a institutional master plan. And obviously, I think we got here with this institutional master plan by what's happened with WPI making a decision without having any conversations with the city of Worcester. And again, the institutional master plan is something that other communities use, and it's not that we will be prohibiting folks from doing what they ultimately would like to do, but this is really about letting the community where they are, as well as the city of Worcester, know what their intentions are. And my understanding is in the other communities, it's worked well with people knowing, again, knowing what's coming or what the plans are. So I look forward to both of these going into economic development, because I think we should have a much longer discussion
There he is.
on the institutional master plan moving forward, so that we as a council and certainly as a city can decide on which options really are going to work for us as a city. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh.
There you are. Bill, you missed Candy talking about WPI again.
No, I heard it.
Mr. Chairman, and, thank you, Councilor Carlson. And
I was
just to
fucking
talk
stupid.
about, it is what it is on the WPI agreement, Mr. Manager. I think you did the best you could under the circumstances.
It is what it is.
You and Peter Dunn, the Law Department, Michael Trainer for putting that together, and come
That's
up
what he
with a
says
good
to you
deal
when you
for
get
the
spray
city.
painted by the owner of
So,
Piccolos. It is what it is.
happened, but it did,
That's what it is.
So I do appreciate
No cops
that,
saw it, apparently.
when it comes to that agreement.
Don't talk shit if you don't want to get hit.
We've gone to the
Freedom isn't free,
we've gone to
guys.
the ballpark.
Freedom isn't free. And Diana Biancarria is a fucking bulldog, all right? Bark, bark.
It's so frustrating in the sense that we work so hard in
This is Rocket.
in the community to work
I
together.
assume you're talking about this fluffy boy,
come up with
and not Bill.
solutions and make sure we push economic
Yeah.
development projects
This is
forward.
our friend Bill.
And
The fluffiest boy.
now we
He's
have,
an outdoor cat.
I guess a member of the team.
Petty, what item is this one on?
I
I
think
don't
this
know
is-
if it's these two. I think we're on a,
Am I speaking on
is that a different item?
9.388? Is that what you wanted?
How about you guys talk about how
These
Holy
we're
Cross has
talking
bought
right now
way more
about,
properties
I said
and
9.3,
pays
yeah,
way less in
before.
pilot agreements.
39A, I think it's.
Talk about that.
Institutional master plan.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're not gonna?
And the report on the pilot is what we're
I
speaking
wonder
of
why.
this time.
But the WPI, I said the other item earlier, but the
You'd like to
WPI.
take-
I'm glad.
Like to take all
I'm
three?
glad, Canberra. I
I
got
just want to make sure that
a few more coming.
we look at the
I think I'm sold
relationship
out now.
going forward. I really respect what you did here. I know the people here aren't happy. I want to thank Chair of Economic Development to that. And we'll send that, both of these items to ED.
Yeah, this stuff is residential purposes,
when we have a
purchases,
chance.
which is even
And,
worse.
I just.
But
I-
the city
Enough is said on this, I guess, in the WPI thing. So-
seems to
so I appreciate it. Thank you.
So we're gonna have
only
a
care
motion
about
to
its
suspend
weird
the
little
rules to
pet
also
tourism
take
industry
9.39,
and not the housing
transmitting
crisis
information communication
that
relative to an
necessitated
agreement between the
WPI
municipality and
doing
WPI relative to the purchase of hotels within the boundaries of the Gateway Park Master Plan. That's what you just spoke on.
So spicy.
All those in favor, opposed, or ordered. So you can speak on any one of those three.
Oh, you want to do all three? We'll come back to the other one later on.
Well, we were on the first two. You brought up 9.2.
Go ahead. That's
which we weren't on.
Yeah, because I gave the wrong numbers. We'll come back to that one. Okay.
That's what you
Whoa.
spoke on.
No, I went back to WPI.
Okay. We have myself next.
Yeah.
And
Say a bad thing about Holy Cross Challenge on the Worcester City Council. It's crazy how little Holy Cross pays in pilot agreements.
Yeah, they're untouchable.
Yeah, that's because
They're on a mission from God.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
it's kind of like
Just to be clear, I think I screwed that one up.
you know,
So 9.398
DC and
is
Yale,
the,
where it's just like all the
WPI
worst kids from
agreement,
Yale
and the
go
other
and
one's institutional.
work in DC.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
like all the worst kids from Holy Cross go and work at City
On
Hall.
the institutional master plan, you know, one of the things that sticks out here is the aspect, there's a number of aspects that these plans traditionally incorporate.
Cross, all colleges
Those
pay no
are
taxes.
the purpose of these institutions.
Is Holy Cross buying Rotmans? Is that real?
And for the purpose of
That's what
future projects
that
that
was.
mitigate.
What
the
I think
impacts.
Kevin had it in
What
a
includes a review process as well.
tweet this afternoon
the
that
master plan would be
they set up
Holy
a
Cross Rotmans?
they set up an LLC
outline
this
benefits
in the last 2
for the
weeks that
institution.
seems to
And
lead
the whole
to
point of
it's
this
like
is to ensure
it
positive
says
community
Brussels, I think,
impact
in the
and
name.
relationship.
Seems to lend credence to the
And
idea
I
that
think
they're
that's really
buying
what
the
we're looking
Rotmans
for,
property.
Mr. Chairman. We know
Oh,
that
Madison Properties.
there's been a lot of development.
Yeah.
And there's
Oh, yeah.
always questions as to what ends, to what degree. And I'm looking forward to this.
Because
There's been
they have
mentions
things
in
called
here,
pilot programs. It's payment in lieu of taxes.
you know, that
That is
there's a
essentially
recommendation for a
taxation
multi-pronged approach,
for
including
universities because of how
execution
much
of newly negotiated
value
pilot
they get out of being
that's extremely
tax free
important here in the city. I think when we
to make
looked
it
at,
worth the city working with them.
you know, how we are responding to concerns in the
They,
community.
you know, so
we realize
they're not
that some of
traditionally
these
tax no,
pilot
but usually to the
agreements
cities
have
that they're
elapsed. Some
located
have
in,
been
they
on
have
the
pilot
books for
programs.
quite some
If you
time.
didn't know about, you might know
Even though
about that.
some of
I'm
those
just saying,
institutions
if anybody
are paying
doesn't
more than
know.
others, those things need to be renegotiated. I'm looking forward to the manager coming back with our pilot task force.
Yeah, that's also
to move
Madison.
some
Yeah.
of this work forward, Mr. Chairman. So I look forward to this going into committee. I hope to be able to attend. Thank you.
No, thank you. Okay, who's next? Anybody else?
Yeah, WPI pays about
Send
$8
that
million a
post
year
reports the economic
in
development.
pilot. Holy Cross, $960K.
What's that?
The amount anticipated for. Oh no, wait, sorry. I read that wrong. Holy Cross pays $80,000 a year.
Council Russell, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I had a
WPI
question I tried to ask
pays
Mr. McGurk
$800,000
but
a year.
before you move the item, I just wanted to know.
80
because I
versus
asked him about some
800,000.
numbers because there was the TIF agreement that was locked in on one of the properties for a while. And it was based on some projected numbers. You know, like if the assessments went up a couple of percent each year or something to that effect. But my question for, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. McGurthy, or to Mr. Sam Kaminsky, the assessor, whoever would like to answer.
Right.
How's the assessed value?
The idea being hopefully that you have leverage on them in other ways.
The actual sale prices.
Pilot's
How do they-
completely voluntary.
Just for the heck of it.
And they
through the
could,
chair,
like, if
the
the city
values generated
did
under
what the
the
councilors
agreement
wanted them
with
to do and
WPI
sue
will be based
WPI,
on the year
WPI could just be like,
prior
okay,
to
we're not
them
paying the
going
pilot
tax
anymore.
exempt.
Right.
The Hilton
Right.
Garden Inn
So
is
it's
intended
about being
to be used
strategic
for
in how
taxable
you
purposes until
exert your leverage,
2026.
any leverage that you
The
do
Courtyard
have.
by Marriott will be used for taxable purposes through FY 30, and so in both cases,
Brendan,
a
are you
higher
back?
value
You're back.
as
Here
a
you go.
result of the
I'm
sale
back.
of the property, the increased values of the property
We missed you.
will be captured under the
Am I
pilot
back?
agreement
I'm not
for
seeing
what
myself.
those
There,
payments
where am
will
I?
You're
be
back.
to the city.
You're back.
So it'll be based on, those future numbers will be based on.
But I'm gone.
Actual assessed values of.
There we. Am I? There, I'm here.
Based on January 1 of the year before.
Okay.
I don't know what we're
So,
getting juggled
again,
right now.
How
But
did-
let's
how did they go versus what they are assessed at.
Did we lose Brendan again? We lost Brendan again.
And
Well,
how
we
does that
have
gonna
we have a
affect
special
those
guest here
assessments going
who
forward?
just joined us.
Is it something that we look at, or is it?
Oh,
something
we
that
lost Brendan.
is
I
just
mean, Bryan.
kinda
I mean,
like a
what the fuck's
separate,
going on? Everything's going haywire.
avenue of,
We have a
information
special
that
guest, I'm
doesn't
told.
necessarily affect the assessed value.
There's our
Okay.
special guest.
So
Rob,
the assessed
are you
value
here?
now versus what they sold for, and going forward with those, with the assessed value change to reflect what they sold for.
Sure.
He
Through the chair
is.
to-
Rob, we can't hear you, bud.
Mr. Assessor?
Excuse me?
No, go ahead.
So
All right, well, we're gonna
we
figure it
actually
out.
don't use
We'll figure it. We'll get it.
sale
We'll get him
that
figured
is
out.
from an entity
Brendan's
that
back.
is
I'm
exempt
back.
in our analysis.
We just like to play musical chairs and
With the
jump
intent of
around.
turning into an exempt.
So I
Who's
have a
this fucking
message.
guy?
It's not
He looks like
arm's length
John
transaction, and the general
Skinny
rule
John
of thumb
Fetterman.
is that
Skinny
an
John Fetterman.
exempt entity
I have a message
will
to
likely
the chat
pay
from
more
former city
than
councilor
what
Rick
the
Rushton.
assessed value
All right,
was
let's hear it.
because they are
Councilor Rushton would
acquiring
like everyone in the
that
chat to know that
parcel
he
or
hasn't been in
asset
City
knowing
Hall
that
since
over
he
the
left
long
his
run,
time
it's gonna
as
come off
a
the
city.
tax rolls.
It's been
We
a
have
number of
numerous
years now, so he doesn't pay attention to this shit. He doesn't come around.
exempt
He said tonight made him
entities
feel
purchasing
like a
property
politician from the
and
early
it
1800s,
being,
just being sent in a time
substantially
machine
more
to like
than
somewhere
what
in the
the
late
assessed value
80s
or
and
what
just
the
like popping into Congress and be like expecting everything to be run in the same way. That was completely horrifying to come in there and like talking to the city manager. Next thing you know, fights breaking out and the guy with spray paint running around while
So through the chair,
Wolf Paws
Councilor Rushton,
pounding the
off
shit
the
out
top
of
my head, I don't have
John
those
Piccolo
numbers.
and
I can certainly pull
yeah.
them
I'd
up,
like that
though.
in a report.
This is really exciting. This is great stuff.
So Wolfpaw tackle.
We have a
report.
Well,
John
it was
Piccolo,
Luster that did the
owner.
breakup, but there it sounds like some hands were
65
thrown.
Prescott is assessed, and
Love it.
again,
Love to
65
hear it.
Prescott.
What a great
their
time. All
value
right, let's
was
bring
part of a
Rob
DD
Bellot on.
settlement.
Rob is here.
So their assessment
Rob, can you hear
is
us?
reflective of that, but it was 9.1 million.
We cannot hear
and
you
the
though.
purchase price,
We haven't figured
just
that
like I
one out.
previously
Yeah, we were
said
in a
about
little
the
bit
entity
of
paying more, was 20.4 million.
it's a new platform. We're
72
always
Grove
working it
was
out.
16,088,700.
But we'll get Rob on
Again,
ASAP.
The purchase price for that property was 25,600,000.
But through you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the assessor, but are you using an income approach to come on these type of properties, or are you using comparable sales or some other approach?
Sure.
Is
So
George
all
making like a
commercial
cartoon voice tonight?
properties that are income
A little bit.
producing are, valued on
He's
an
leaning
income
into it,
approach
yeah.
and then
That's somebody
reconciled,
wearing a George suit.
via the market-adjusted cost approach.
They're doing Bill's
Yeah, Mr.
impression
Chairman,
of
I'm not trying
George.
to second guess our staff or the assessor, but if you're using an income approach and there's gonna be a lot more generated income from these properties, isn't that something we should be taking a closer look at when we're putting a number on these properties going forward? Or is it
We
because
we
they're
gotta
doing
get this
tax
straightened out with Rob
exempt,
because he is at
entities,
Polar
or
Park
entities
right now.
associated, are they somehow
He's
exempt?
calling in from
Well,
Polar
Mr. Chairman
Park.
says that they're not for the next few years at least. My point is that are we making sure that we're treating these properties like we're treating every other property? When we're saying about the numbers that we're getting out of them. That's all I'm asking for.
Okay.
If you
through the
were
chair,
treating this
so
like any other
one other
property, you
thing
wouldn't be
to
trying
take
to
note of when you
interfere
look at
in
a
the
sale
free
of
market
a
you
hotel in
otherwise
particular, is
tout.
that sale price also
Oh,
includes
free market's
typically
so great when it's a
tangible
fucking gas
property,
station, but oh no,
which
you're
is
taking
not
away our
part
little
of
hotels that we need to host the hockey tournament.
value, fair market value of the
Now the free market's
building
bad,
itself, the
and we
building
need an
land.
institutional
So
master
there's
plan.
a few things that make this a little bit more
Fucking
complicated.
idiots,
than
dude.
I mean, I'm
almost just
fine.
looked
If they
at
want
it.
to backdoor their way into communism, then I'm willing willing to go with it.
Yeah, but they're just not gonna.
There are different
No, they'll fuck that up too.
of hotels within the city and throughout. And those each garner different RevPARs, or revenue per average daily rate, or rev per room. And so along with that would be a different type of expense ratio, vacancy ratio, et cetera.
I understand.
There's extended stay style hotels versus, motels that don't have a restaurant in their, in their first floor of the lobby.
I just want to make sure we treat these properties like every other property, and that I'm getting my cut on all the transactions going on
It's fair to say,
Rice
Mr.
Square,
Chairman, correct me if I'm wrong,
east
but
and
it's fair to
south.
say that we haven't actually come up with exact numbers for the future. We're still taking a look at these as far as values. Is that correct? Or am I misunderstanding?
Oh, look at that. Squeebo.
The city
Gifting
manager
subs.
cough drops from me last week, and I think that's where I got my cough, but he's coughing when I'm asking a question. I don't know if it was a really good question or if it was just a cough, but go ahead.
Shaun has to get his tusks wet.
So every year that I do my market
Oh, that one got me.
online,
Oh, I understand. I'm trying to say about these projections. That are
You know, I
in the
gotta
report.
get my
Are they
tusks-
based- Are they based on numbers that are actually going to be coming
deal's
in
good,
the
but
next
I
few
gotta get
years
my
to the
tusks
city?
wet.
Or are they based on estimates, and they might fluctuate if your numbers, if you...
Rob is going to be, Rob's heading home now. He's going to be on in about 20 minutes. He was calling in from Polar Park, which was great.
Watch out for those shares.
Let me step in here.
What do you want for 50,000?
He should be on it shortly. We're not running out of agenda here.
Oh,
We got
Marco
plenty of
Flex,
time.
Marco Flex, Marco Flex.
As mentioned earlier, the values
Marco
that
Flex.
ultimately dictate the pilot
I
agreement
feel bad
and
messaging him
payments
every single
will be
week to
set.
Flex.
Yeah, no, we'll save it. We'll save it.
I feel like I'm using him for his body, you know.
Thank you.
Squeebo, you are number one.
Economic development. All those in favor? Opposed?
It's an incredible gesture. You are number
Mayor, on
one.
the roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call.
Council Bergman,
Yes.
Council Calorio,
Yes.
Council Agia,
Yes.
Council King,
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson,
Yes.
Council Nguyen,
Yes.
Council Hayda,
Yes.
Council Pasillo,
Yes.
Council Russell,
Yes.
Council Toomey,
Yes.
and Mayor Petty.
Yes.
Yes. Transmitting information communication over the Worcester Rodent Action Plan.
Oh my God, I'm gonna fucking
Do we have room for the raccoons in this one?
redacted. Yeah,
Thank
make
you
sure
so
your
much,
make
Mr.
sure your
Chair.
the raccoons on your plate are sourced
I
to
just wanted
Worcester
thank
and not
Commissioner Horn
Southbridge.
and his staff for a really great report.
Diseased raccoons in
I do
Southbridge.
have a couple questions
So make sure
through
the
you
ones that
to
you're eating
Commissioner
are
Horn.
from Worcester
The
or
first question would be,
north, preferably
can we add a
Fitchburg is
feature to
fine.
311 to report rat sightings in the city?
Through the
Commissioner?
chair. Thank you. Through the chair to the council.
311 to report rat sightings.
We're working on.
So what?
I've
We
looked
can send a
311
guy out
myself, trying to
with a
see
pellet
how it
gun.
works from the outside, looking in as a.
There is no neighborhood in
resident of
Worcester
the
that
city.
isn't
I don't,
blanketed with rats. I thought we just knew that
see it
at this point.
anything on there
Like
currently.
reporting rats is like reporting chipmunks. They're everywhere.
You
They're
you
not-
live in a city.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Cities have rats.
Manager?
Like
To the
it's
chair,
just
so
an
I just
immutable
wanna add a
fact
little
of
bit,
city life.
one
And
of
if you
the
don't
things that
see
we're
them,
gonna
it's
do,
because they're
again,
rats.
just to
And
emphasize
they're
it,
immutable.
Right,
is
yeah.
we're going to,
That's how it goes.
Create one for 311. But one of the things that we're going to do is have an interactive map that will show across the city where we're seeing the heat sensors across different sections of the city, so that we internally understand how do we approach.
Wait, we have
and
heat
what are the
sensors
areas
for
that are being
rats?
affected so that we can have a
I think
direct,
he's talking about a heat
strategy.
map for rat
And that's currently
populations.
being done right now. as we
But
speak,
either
and,
way, it's
We got rat
that
trail
process,
cams. I'm getting out the Bigfoot
last
suit.
week during our conversations.
this meeting
And I will
is like
leave,
the highest
you know,
instance of
further
me
discussion
almost
to
letting a
the
very
standing
bad
committee,
word
but I do want to echo the caller who spoke
historically
about
used
the
when
rat
things are
poison
stupid.
and how it moves
I
up the
am-
food chain
I'm
and
just
just
so
something
close
to
'cause
keep
this-
in mind
this
when we're
meeting
planning
is-
abatement, because I do
this
not
meeting
want
is,
rats, but I also want to make sure that wildlife and kids and everyone is safe. So thank you so much, and thank you again, Commissioner Horn. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, through the.
So everyone
through the
is
chair, if I
safe?
could just make a comment, getting to the map that the city manager mentioned. I have actually seen some of that preliminary mapping. It really looked good to me. I liked what I saw from Innovation Technology Department with the map and how it
Okay, dude.
mapped
You're,
out where all these.
don't
It
worry.
was accurate.
You're getting
It has a
paid.
dashboard
You
we
don't
can
have to
track
do
it.
this.
We're gonna actually start surveying
not baiting, we're surveying just to see. I will say on the baiting point, I just want to make a point that, you know, the city will make sure that they have the proper licenses regarding the pesticide, and the people will be licensed. We won't be just arbitrarily dropping poisons anywhere. And we'll be making
We'll be
sure
very
that the city manager
intentionally
and everybody,
and in a
when that
calculated
program
fashion
begins,
dropping poisons.
What that'll look like and when it begins. Thank you.
So we are doing the poisons. It feels like a bad idea to do the poisons.
Okay, we're good to go.
Just
So,
thoughtfully.
the public safety. Roll call.
Council Bergman?
Yes.
Council Calorio? Council
Maybe-
Aguirre? Council King?
We don't have fluoride in our water, but we can do the rat poisons.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
the
Council
fuck?
Ada?
Yes.
Council Pasillo?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Council Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty.
Yes, 9.27A.
What chime?
This is regards to the tax classification package. So we'll hold A and B. We'll set
There's
a
a
hearing
chime?
date for next
I don't know.
Tuesday
Yeah,
at
it's just
6:30.
a chime.
So it'll be a first time of business, I believe.
Okay, Mr. Mayor? Yep, correct.
I don't know.
Okay,
Maybe it's
so if anybody has any
something I just don't
questions,
understand.
please call Assessor, our CFO during the week, and try to get the questions answered so we can get through this Tuesday night. Okay, so we'll hold those under privilege. And we are at 9.30A.
I don't hear those on our end.
Transmitting information, communication, the update in the ballpark district improvement financing plan. Councilmember Carlson.
Yes. Mr.
Wow.
Chairman.
More subs. You guys are
this
incredible.
council
I
all
gotta
got
tell you guys, I didn't even realize it. We didn't get an alert for it. We had a hype train going
administration in
over an hour ago,
regards to
or almost an hour
Choo
ago.
choo, baby. Choo
Which
choo.
is
And we got to 69%
honestly
of
pretty
level 1
disturbing.
Hey.
for hype train.
I think everyone.
Hell yeah. We're at 50% of our sub goal for
So-
today.
Really like to ask, probably, I think, Mr. Dunn, to maybe.
Oh, yeah. Time to bring out
through
Peter
you,
Dunn
Mr.
to
Chairman,
answer the tough questions in disarmingly
to
boring
come
fashion.
for a couple of questions, and those questions would be, what is it, what tools do we as a city have in our toolbox?
Oh, I hate it when
because
they
it's
say
very
that.
obvious that these folks have not been in compliance. It's very obvious that they've gotten away with, quite frankly, at this point, I'm gonna say that they've gotten away with a lot, and they've put us as a city in a pretty bad position at this point. And I clearly read the communication and clearly can understand what the administration said in terms of where we'll sit at the end of this agreement. But again,
I
for us
personally
to
love the
be
chimes
sitting in
at Oaken,
a
so
position
keep it
where
coming.
At this point, we're down by that amount.
We can
of
also,
money is pretty significant.
I think we can customize our alerts too, so we might be able
Mr.
to
Dunn, if
get
you
some fun,
share,
versions.
with me, what is it that we have for options in regards to
Candy, get it
this
out.
piece of property?
Is this going to be another one of those your options where negotiate a better contract when you negotiated the contract conversations?
Yeah,
you
then
voted
the
for
options
it.
were
To
don't
where
fuck
do
up
we
4
as a
years
city
ago.
Right now sit. Do we own those properties? Does that fall under the redevelopment authority? And what is
Candy,
it
they own the properties because
that
they're
we
paying
as
fucking
a
property
city-
taxes on it.
What are
What the
our options?
fuck, dude? These people are.
Mr. Dunn?
Sure, through the chair,
Stupid.
just to start with a point of clarification, because the district improvement financing area includes lots of different properties that are owned by many different owners. I believe you're asking specifically about Madison properties, is that
I
right?
am. I'm
Okay,
sorry
okay,
if I didn't say
No,
that.
it's okay.
You're absolutely right.
Okay. I think it might be helpful first to kind of just do a little bit of a kind of recap as it relates to the chronology and history of our relationship with Madison Properties, both from the city and also the Worcester Redevelopment Authority perspective, and I can kind of describe those in the relevant agreements that we have with them. I would defer any kind of specific legal questions to the Deputy City Solicitor, but happy to kind of give that context and then see if there's additional follow-up questions and things like that based on the description of the relationship that we have. So the council might remember in 2018, when the whole ballpark project was announced, that's when the relationship with Madison Properties was also announced, because Madison Properties had already controlled some of the land that was owned by Wyman Gordon within the urban revitalization plan, both land that's across the street from the ballpark, which we sometimes refer to as the south of Madison Street or SOMA, as well as Wyman Gordon land on the north side of Madison Street where the ballpark sits. And so
Do you call that
since
NOMA?
he already had that land under agreement, it wasn't a situation, and I'll just use as a kind of comparison. It wasn't like the Denholm where the WRA did some kind of like request for proposals where we had multiple developers expressing interest. We engaged in that relationship because he had already had a lot of land under control.
Brennan, do you know, did Eric own the building, Lucky Dog, or did he just have the business there?
Just the business.
Between
Yeah,
the city, WRA,
that's right.
Madison
That is right.
Properties, as well as and so that master plan was developed by the three partners and then submitted to the city council as part of that. And so the core agreement, it started with letter of intent, some of which was binding, some of which was not binding, I would say.
Well,
and then there was a revised letter of intent later on, really in
this is a broken
2020
record, but
because of some of the impacts that we were starting to see.
obviously
from
we
the pandemic. So obviously
truly
2018,
need
nobody
fuck
predicted
pickleball
what
courts.
happened
We
in
need a
2020.
bowling alley.
And then ultimately the core agreement that we have with Madison Properties is called the land disposition.
What's the cost per lane, Brian? It's got to be under 30 grand.
The Worcester Redevelopment Authority and Madison.
Let's just take underutilized tennis courts and turn them into bowling alleys.
Basically the same, yeah.
They control a lot of the land that's kind of in question. And so obviously as
No, he didn't. I don't think it was him when it was the Cove. He had sold Lucky Dog to the people that
necessary
turned it into the Cove.
appropriations, loan authorizations, things like that, that the city council had approved for the Worcester Redevelopment Authority to undertake this initiative in the urban revitalization plan, as well as the various tax benefits.
Yeah,
those
but I mean,
packages that were
it's
approved
gonna be
So the
it's
best
gonna
way
be
I
one
could
of those
describe
like
the land disposition agreement between the WRA
like
and Madison
slick
Properties
like
is really a value for
you
value
know, but
exchange,
exactly what those
essentially,
developments are. It's
where
like 4/1
we
or
were
whatever. Like
provided
you have
much
those
of
like
the
weird
land
small
for the
chain
ballpark where
places.
constructed, in exchange for
I
value
can't
that
imagine
was
it's
then
gonna be
provided to Madison Properties, and that includes the left field
a cool
building
place to
site
hang.
specifically. That was land that was not previously controlled by them or previously controlled by Wyman Gordon. So that was a property acquired by the Redevelopment Authority in a negotiated acquisition with the private owners of that property at the time. So he received
there's more than one
the left field building site, as
like
well
former
as,
bowling
the
alley
value of the
in the
tax
city
benefits
that
for
is
each of the development
you know
components that he has.
hidden downstairs
So as part of the
or
package that
behind a
the city
wall.
council, because obviously city council has the authority to consider TIFs as well as ties.
Oliver,
Just a
welcome.
reminder, tax increment financing is for commercial
How are you?
properties, and then tax increment exemption are for housing properties. And so each of his development program elements had that benefit associated with it. The two that have been executed are a TIF agreement for
It's true.
the left
It
field
was a
building
4-star.
site and a tie agreement for the first residential property, which is now known as the Revington. The other ones for the future elements of his development program have been essentially authorized by the city council. The framework for those, there's one more tie, there's a second residential building that's proposed.
So are we,
behind
Oliver.
The Revington, and then
Yeah,
there's
if
the
you have any
hotel
insight.
building that's proposed, which would be a TIF. There's the lab building that's proposed that would be next to the
I wanna know
parking
if it was a
garage,
planned
the Green Island Boulevard parking garage.
attack.
And those are basically the framework for that has been established and approved, but we haven't executed the agreement. The reason for that is that a lot of the details related to TIF or tie agreements have to do with project schedules, jobs to be created, things like that, that have made.
Yeah, I was told that they were not engaging in advance.
Commencement of those
It was
projects
the painter was just kind of hanging around with another group of people, and Webb came by and
agreement for the first residential building, the
a little bit of
Revington,
yelling,
as well
and
as the
then
TIF agreement for
whatever that
the left
substance
field
was.
building parcel. One of the things that we tried
To the person who
do,
told me that, who is
because
rather obvious,
in
but
the
I'm not going
land
to keep mentioning his
disposition
name,
agreement and the
is
communications to
it
council,
wasn't entirely
much
clear
of
like
the
that it was
development
paint.
program is something that had what I would call targeted occupancy.
I mean, I would
rates. There were
if someone
schedules that were
if I was
created,
watching that, I would have assumed it was
and
pepper
we
spray,
wanted to make
obviously.
sure that we were mitigating
But
risks.
seeing
The
it,
whole premise of
Yeah,
this
and I mean,
is
if it was
we're
paint, you could smell
reliant
it.
on
I'm not
those
gonna
increased tax revenues to cover
guess.
the debt
It just
service
it wasn't.
obligations
The
of
person said it
the
wasn't clear what it was.
But like any developer, not knowing what might happen with market conditions, as we saw the impact, not just of the pandemic in terms of all that happened with what comes with the global pandemic, but as we've seen with many other properties, the impact that that's had long-term on office space and the demand for office space and remote work and how that has been a whole paradigm shift, essentially. That has obviously affected the initial vision for the left field building being an office building. Nobody is really building new office buildings at this time under these current market conditions. So because of that, there was some
yeah,
hesitation.
he showed up for public comment. It definitely seemed to like paint, but
on obligating themselves to certain timelines related to when these buildings would be constructed. So what we tried to do to manage that risk is with some of the different tax incentive packages, we tried to build in some motivation and incentive to see those brought online as soon as possible. So in some cases, like the hotel as an example, if he pulls a building permit and commences that by a certain date, then the TIF benefits are greater to him than if he pulls that building permit and starts at a later date. So motivating him to stay focused on it and try hard to meet that intended timeline that was kind of put into the initial agreement. In addition, one of the other strategies we had with the left field building that I think is a particular topic right now because it was referenced in the letter as to recent communication we had from them, is that we structured that TIF agreement with what we call a targeted tax payment schedule. So it's a 15-year term with a prescribed tax payment that would be due to the city each of those years throughout the 15-year term, regardless of the status of the building. So for the first few years, we have been receiving certain payments on that property that are greater than what the underlying tax liability would be if he was just assessed based on the fair market value of the land in question. So we tried to do that intentionally to have a more predictable revenue stream associated with that site. And when that negotiation took place, again, because of the apprehension of a developer not understanding market conditions and having these obligations and not knowing what their ability will be on project feasibility and project financing, that 15-year schedule had the first 3 years as guaranteed, and that 3-year period was for ending FY24, so this past June. After the first 3 years, at the end of FY24, he had the ability to terminate that TIF agreement and then have it be reflective of the fair cash value of the property. Obviously, if this is, I guess, a little editorial comment, but I think that his decision to terminate that TIF agreement demonstrates that I don't think there's a lot of confidence in seeing that building constructed, for example, getting started next year or even the year following, because it would be in his long-term interest to keep that TIF agreement in place and realize the benefits of that TIF agreement for, the latter half
all right,
of that
let's
15-year
now
term,
bring
so,
on our special guest, Rob
shows that
Bellata.
there's
Rob,
not a lot of confidence in the very near term.
how are you, bud?
Of getting
Hey,
that
guys.
field building constructed.
Thanks for joining us. How was Polar Park?
Your,
It was
point,
lovely
guess,
as always.
He
This time of
owns
year.
the
We're
land for each of
we're
the
listening to
development
Peter
program
talk
assets.
about
He has
what
title
happened
to
with the
left field
TIF
building that was
here,
transacted,
so I think we're gonna let
and
him
he
go
has
for a few.
title
If
to
you wanna,
the
we'll
other
if you
parcels
wanna
on
hang
the
tight
south
and
side
listen,
of
and
Madison
we'll
Street for which he acquired from Wyman Gordon,
get
not
into the
from
analysis in a
Worcester
couple
Development
minutes.
Authority. So that might be a helpful kind of
One
introduction.
second, let me just, one sec, guys.
to the conversation.
And through the chair to Mr. Dunn, am I correct that basically what you just said is he now also terminated that left field
Listen.
property that is no longer TIF on there? Is that what my understanding is?
Through the chair, that's correct. He sent us a letter. His attorney sent us a letter a few weeks ago in October, exercising his right to terminate the TIF agreement on the left field building site.
So earlier tonight in economic development with the same developer, we did a couple of chairman's orders, and that was due
Daughters.
to non-compliance, correct?
Through the chair to the councilor, we had talked, because we had on the agenda of the Economic Development Committee our semi-annual TIF and tie reporting, and this goes back to some previous conversations that the committee had held at the time that the Revington was being constructed. It's obviously been completed. They have certificate of occupancy. That happened at the end of I think it was either December 2023 or January 2024. And over the course of that project, as it was being constructed, our team had sent him on 2 different occasions letters of non-compliance as it related to the TIF policy, or I should say TIF tie policy, because it's a residential, so it's a tie agreement on that property, because there were a number of subcontractors on that project that were not providing certified payroll forms. So it became clear to us that perhaps the obligations or the language of the TIF and tie policy was maybe not included in his contract with his general contractor or the subcontractors. And in response to that, those letters, what they did was they engaged with a local accounting firm, Bolus Lynch, to have them receive all of the certified payrolls for the project from all the different subcontractors. And they submitted to us basically summary reports of the status of the various goals that we have for local and diverse participation. So I would say that it is a deviation from the black and white language of the TIF policy. They felt like it was satisfactory in meeting the intent of the TIF and tie policy in terms of getting accurate information about who's participating on the job, how many Worcester residents do we see, how many women, people of color do we see on the job. And I think looking back at their response letter when they got Bolus Lynch involved and
literally
sort of digesting our letter of non-compliance and creating their response, I think that they looked at,
I don't know why, but the song's been in my head all day.
28 provisions in the TIF and tie policy, and how there was basically one of the provisions where they were falling short, so they kind of felt like maybe it wasn't 100% compliance, but I think they felt like they were complying in a satisfactory manner.
That'd be a good
with
one
the
to learn
intent and
on my
purpose
labs
of the TIF and tie
Oh,
policy.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
But at the end of the day, we did
I
not have,
forgot about that actually. I forgot about that bit.
complete and accurate certified payroll records for the construction activity of that project.
Okay, and so we basically, at the end of the day, the Economic Development Committee has asked them to come in and sit before us, basically, and explain why not. I guess at this point, Mr. Chairman, I believe that this is under the jurisdiction of the redevelopment authority, this piece of the parcel that they pulled out of the TIF.
Through the chair to the councilor, I would say it's still twofold. The land disposition agreement between the Worcester Redevelopment Authority and Madison Properties is still an active agreement, so the Redevelopment Authority certainly still has a role to play and an interest.
Are we seeing a little
as well as all of the land still exists.
CYA
Downtown
and
urban
trying to
revitalization
talk tough
plan,
on
so
this
it's the
now?
Worcester Redevelopment Authority's mission to
little
carry
late.
out the goals and objectives of the downtown urban revitalization plan. But I would say that the council still has certainly an interest in the relationship as well, because the TIF and tie agreements are between Madison and the city of Worcester. So I think it's still very much something that involves both the redevelopment authority and the city of Worcester.
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, I would say that given all of the information that we've received and over the last several years, we have continued to struggle, quite honestly, on many different levels with this developer. It's unfortunate to say,
Yeah, I'm trying to-
but I honestly, at this point, think that we as a city should really
I don't know exactly where they mean,
at
unless they're talking about
eminent domain
replacing
on this piece
that
of property.
like staff parking lot back there behind the left field wall.
They've really,
I thought there was
at
supposed to
this
be like
point,
a,
put
yeah, I
us
thought there was
in
supposed to be a building along the train tracks there.
bad
Yeah, have a
place,
rendering of it.
if you will.
Yeah.
I think that we should look at any and all options with this developer for us to recoup. And again, I don't say that lightly. I say that that's something that we as a city And hopefully the redevelopment authority also looks at it in that light as well. So I look forward to the continued discussion. I know, I believe through the chair to the city manager, is this not going to the redevelopment authority? Do they not have a meeting on this particular item?
Mr. Manager?
Through the chair, that is correct. I believe they're meeting this week, that he's scheduled to attend with his attorney, the WRA meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ken, do you think that you will also roll over for the developer in that meeting as you have throughout this entire process, or what are we thinking?
Yeah, I really hope that this is an anomaly in it, and I do really hope that, you know, that development around the stadium picks up and that we're able to really continue to be, you know, in the positive on this. But it is definitely concerning, and especially considering like all the information and reports and studies that have shown that
motion or feelings on
these deals, even with, you know, development districts around the parks, don't always, for the majority of the time, don't work out.
Right.
I know we have a number of developers in the city of Worcester who,
you know, it's here now. Polo Park's here. I like Polo Park. I you know, I think it's a cool place to visit. It's a cool attraction, but it costs the city a lot. And I think there's more we should be doing to try to, you know, make sure that we're getting community benefits from the park. Number one, very disappointing that the stadium can't house concerts now because of a building that looks like.
Which I was talking about earlier. I just think is absolute horseshit that they can't come up with a solution for that.
Yeah, and again too, like all of the, I was just watching the videos from, what was that, 2018, when they had the meeting in the White Room. And you know, it was a lot of
that there's been no decision on that yet, but that's,
you know, positive forecasting and you know, a lot of the pro forma was forecasting, you know, and that doesn't always come true. A lot of these,
so
you
on
know,
the hotel, I think certainly.
I don't mean to interrupt you guys, but Bill, did you just catch that?
Significantly, that's why we were, you know, optimistic that we might be able to kind of bring that over the
We lose
finish
Bill?
line to see that hopefully
His
get under
camera's
construction
frozen.
in the spring. And we were even
What was it?
Just they mentioned publicly that they're, and I don't know how public this has been, but Madison Properties has been trying to secure the Mass State Police Crime Lab as their primary tenant for these properties. But I think that speaks to where Worcester is at from a real estate perspective when you would want to be doing, you'd want to have DCAM as a tenant in a new construction building, right? Like that tends not to be like your first choice for potential tenants in an up-and-coming city.
Obviously, on the demand side, I would say that we are already kind
Yeah,
of
so I just, you know, think
based on what
there's been not enough done to really make sure that there's been a smoother transition for Polo Park, especially within the Canal District. Like, I strongly feel we should have never got rid of that parking lot that was on Green Street right next to the bridge, the municipal parking lot. That was a good 60, 70 spots. And it's the Rockland Trust Pavilion now, which is really kind of just a parcel of grass that's really sat unused. I think you could have easily made a nice like entrance to the park that way, like, you know, 15, 20 feet wide, and had like a nice, you know, made it look nice, you know what I mean? But we didn't have to sacrifice all that parking for the Canal District. And I know a lot of businesses
through the chair to the mayor.
This is like even
you know, we're not
Polo Park
involved in
businesses
every
coming to
conversation
open
related to that, but we
Canal District, but
have been
it's
aware
been
that there's been
definitely
a lot
growing
of
pains
progress in terms of the different
business
sources
owners
that go
there.
into that.
I know a lot of
Capital
property
stack,
owners
as we
have
call it, so
sold
there's the
and
equity side of the
cashed
equation,
out,
as
and
well
that's
as the
fine,
debt side
but
of the equation. I think there's been some positive
I
conversations with lender
don't believe
willingness
that
on the debt
the
side.
Canal District needed
Again, with
Polo
interest
Park.
rates getting a little bit better than they were last
But
year.
I think it's a great addition to the city. It's here. Let's see what we can do to really make sure it doesn't leave taxpayers on the hook. That we're trying to get the most out of it for our community. And that starts with, you know, asking questions and not and being critical of these things before, you know, the meeting.
And I think that's the bigger issue, or one of the huge issues with it. I mean, I think that overall it was a good idea to shoot for this and to to get this team here and to build the park, but it's the way that that happened, and the kind of the the credulous way that the city council at least went about just being like, oh yeah, everything's gonna be great, and there's people all along on the outside saying like, well, this doesn't look that good, and everyone's like, no, you're just being defeatist, and everything's, if you just look at this, then everything's gonna be fine. And it's like, it clearly wasn't going to be. And then the question becomes, why? What, like, for what reason did you refuse to see what like that any expert was saying, which is there's a way to do this and there's a way not to do it, and you're doing it the way you don't do it.
I think it's really because I think Worcester's always unfortunately had this complex of wanting to grasp for the next big urban development project that's gonna be the catalyst for the city and gonna propel us forward, and instead of investing in our neighborhoods and neighborhoods, centers of commerce, and our schools.
And it's very interesting too that like they kind of cut off the canal district at the knees when they did this, which was a developing area that was like chugging along very nicely and like kind of trending upward, and that has stopped.
Through the chair to the council, this has been our analysis, and our performer states that.
And the canal district there's been so much going on. It's been awesome. Folks our age, right, have seen it from when it was really nothing and when it was a lot of closed down shops. I remember when Roland's was a little like corner store.
One of the challenges has been
like a Lowe's or a True Value. It was like I remember it when I was a kid and seeing Water Street grow and all this stuff. But yeah, the canal district had a great amount of buzz before Poland Park.
Into the development.
That was something I think a lot of folks our age are really proud of and seeing grow.
Right. We have a number of charts that.
And it's like there were, I don't know. There feels like it's going to be hard to recapture that there, and there's not many other areas that you could totally do that as it stands right now.
Opening of the Cove.
And also to kind of fall back on COVID as a reason, that doesn't really hold water, because these developments in other cities have faced the same challenges pre-COVID, with costs running higher. It's projections are not what they. The end cost is much higher than what they're projecting.
That the DIF is financed properly, and so I do support Councilman Townsend.
Great, that's a great question, Gio.
MO, I think, at the end of the day. Thank you.
Councilor, District 5 Councilor Tel Hagi, followed by myself.
I think, we have every right as a community, and we need
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
councilors to be more critical of these things and not just say that it's, literally like District 2 Councilor Jenny Merrill Carlson was quoted as saying Polar Park is one of the best things that the city has done for our community as a whole.
I'm going to have some harsh words for Mr. Dowdle.
I get more excited about
properties. I'm very familiar with this
our
developer.
public schools and about our neighborhoods and infrastructure.
Started, Mr. Bryan and I actually had a conversation because some of us
more
in the
beneficial
community
for
were
our
really
community.
worried that this developer wouldn't abide by the promises that he made to our community.
And again, what Councilor Gia is saying too, that's true. There were a lot of issues with community labor agreements not being followed,
really a slap in the face
non-union
to
labor.
learn that after all the time and the expenses and the amount of work that Mr. Dunn's team has put into working with this developer, that we just get a letter in the mail.
Yeah.
Our community isn't experimental grounds for any developers to play with our residents or to make empty promises to our residents. I think, and
exactly, we can't just rubber stamp every tip and tie that goes through. I think we need to be asking questions like, how can we leverage a little more affordability out of all these developments? And I know, like she said about Mr. Dunn, they are working hard. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund's doing some great work.
It's called responsible for a
I know
reason.
they're
It's not called
working with developers, but
which
we
is what
need
behavior of these
counselors as well
developers, in my view.
to
It's frustrating.
challenge them to do better
Heard
and
from this developer that
encourage them to
promising
stay
permanent jobs, temporary
committed
jobs,
to those
vendors,
goals that we talk about. I think for the most
businesses
part they have
coming into the city.
But
And now
Oh,
he's
you're
just pulling out of that agreement. And Mr. Dunn, I can imagine that for you,
Yeah,
the
and you
amount
know,
of time and
like
expense and
we've been
all
talking
of
about
your
this,
team's time that
you
could
know,
have
the
gone
last couple
into
weeks,
other projects
obviously,
that
but
each of our district
with everything that's
councilors,
going on in the larger world,
each of us as district
like we
councilors work
can't
really
afford to
hard
have a
to
council
actualize in
that
our districts. We just had a mayor's walk
is
on Webster Square. We talked about
not,
that area of
you
the
can say willing to
district
sell us
needs
out
more
or whatever,
attention.
but just
And yet we
not
have to
focused
spend
on
now extra time,
the things that matter
as
to the
Councilor
actual
Mayor
residents in
also
this
put it,
community. Like
to figure out how
like,
to make this happen.
I don't
It's
care
completely
about
unacceptable behavior
impressing
for massive
developers
properties to
when
drag
it comes
their
to
feet
like
all this time
a big attraction in
while
the
they are
city when we
purchasing
don't have enough
properties
housing,
through multiple LLCs in Councilor
and we don't have any
Russell's
affordable
district
housing
up on
in the
Holy
city.
Cross. I'm sorry,
It's,
but
just,
that's
it's the
ridiculous.
Galleria Mall. You know,
That,
everyone talks about how the mall killed
Boston
downtown,
Capital, Tremont
and that it
Capital
was
are
supposed to
doing
be
their
this
job,
big
are
new thing
abiding
that
by
was
the
gonna,
agreements that
you know,
and the promises they made
when I
to
was
the
in high school, the
community, are
mall
building
didn't
affordable housing,
help out kids at
and
North
yet
High.
we're supposed to
I don't
hold
think
this
Fuller Park
developer
is really
to
helping
a
out kids at
different
North High
standard.
now.
That's just not acceptable to me. Mr. Manager, through the chair, what guardrails do we have in place other than actions like the councilor just mentioned, eminent domain, to make sure that this doesn't happen in the future? And
What-
before you answer
I mean,
that, through the chair, I asked that because I will be honest and humble. I don't know enough what an eminent domain would mean in this case. So I would like for us, maybe one of you could describe what that means. I'm happy to support it. I just want to make sure that we're understanding. If this happens in the future, are we going to take by eminent domain every developer that acts irresponsibly? Can we do that? Can we afford that?
Could we?
I'm just wondering what kind of accountability guardrails.
Let's
can we
take Auburn
build
by
in
eminent domain.
into our TIF agreements or any conversations we have with
Think big,
developers,
Worcester.
so they have the respect
Just not
to
Worcester.
actually pick up the phone and call the people who have been working really hard. The district councilor obviously didn't know about this.
How about the hot dog Annie's at next?
Especially when Plum House, the
I think,
contractor
yeah,
that Councilor
but
Mayor Carson
we
was talking
may
about, was cited for non-compliance.
we may want to leave hot dog Annie's out there,
So one of you could
just based on the
take that on,
politics
that
of
would
their
be really
owners
great.
these days.
Mr. Manager, or Mr. Dunn?
Through the chair to the councilor, I think what Councilor Merrill Carlson was referencing is that this area is somewhat unique as it relates to revitalization and development because of the role that the Worcester Redevelopment Authority plays in that area. So typically, if you're talking about eminent domain for like a municipal purpose, and I'm not the city solicitor, but for a from the city of Worcester, it has to be for a municipal purpose. But the Redevelopment Authority has that eminent domain power as it relates to redevelopment. And so where all of the land exists in their established plan under state law, they could consider engaging in that process with him. What they would have to do is do a number of appraisals. We wouldn't be able to do that without compensation. So what would happen, to your point on like the financial implications of that, is that they would have to do a number of appraisals and then provide that compensation to him. But I think perhaps what Councilor Merrill Carlson was referencing is like, is that a way to unlock the property for somebody that will execute on the improvements that we want to see? Because at the end of the day, the Redevelopment Authority's mission is to make sure that the goals and objectives of the urban revitalization plan come to fruition. So trying to figure out a way that we see these parcels fulfill that vision is they have various, things that they can try to do to stimulate that activity.
Mr. Manager?
Sorry. Through the chair to the councilor, you talk about guardrails, and those are the things that sometimes we're a little bit limited in terms of these private transactions. But I think some of the guardrails that we have in place is when it comes to the TIF ordinance or the tie agreements, that what we can do is the council can explore the opportunity, what we've done recently with the Unum property, where they weren't meeting the agreement, and so this council, this body, we recommended the removal of that TIF, and this body adopted that. And so those are the kind of areas that we can try to be a little bit more forceful to the developers, understanding and knowing that, right, we want development to happen, right? That's the goal. But we also need to hold people accountable and do what's important for our community.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mr. Dunn, I'm happy to support Councilor
What
Mayor
the city manager just said is
just wanted to make
exactly
sure
what
that for the
we
public
need
that's
more on
listening,
council.
who's not as well versed in this lingo, that they understood what that process entails. I'll close with this. Whether it's irresponsible developers, again, in my opinion, others may not share, then that's fine. Like Madison Properties that display this kind of disrespect to our residents first and foremost. that walk
Tell her
away having
Palestinian
made promises
flag earrings. Those are sick.
to this council and to our community, or whether it's irresponsible property owners that harm our most vulnerable tenants. I do think that this city council and city manager, we do need to figure out a way through whatever mechanisms that we continue to hold these folks accountable, that this kind of behavior is not rewarded in the future.
Guy from
I appreciate both of your
the developer,
the
Madison.
time and the immense stress that probably you all
Or maybe
experienced, receiving
Ben
that letter
has
in the mail without proper
the Cowboys
notification.
running back on his fantasy
and
team.
I would really ask that you give us some updates on if there's any response from the developer.
I haven't watched any football this year. I'm slacking.
Thank you, Councilor Russell. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's been pretty boring.
Councilor King first. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Next question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of comments and questions. First, last term, as vice chairman of this Economic Development Committee when I served, we requested multiple times, or a couple of times at least, that Madison Properties and Duda come to committee, and it was thoroughly rejected out of hand, Mr. Chairman, dismissed. And we had conversations with the manager, we had conversations with the acting manager, we had conversations with Economic Development, Office of Economic Development, to no end. And to hear, once again, after all of the fighting that we've done against wage theft, that's continuing is problematic by those general subcontractors and general contractors and some of the work that's being done on their properties. In addition to that, Mr. Chairman, we are talking about the Worcester Redevelopment Authority. I'm a person that's all for oversight hearings and the city council doing its part. Now, that's a separate authority, a separate entity. However, it does fall under, in our rules, municipal operations as one of the related boards and commissions. I'm sorry, Committee on Economic Development. It's one of the boards and commissions, Mr. Chairman. I know at one time we used to get the minutes from the Worcester Redevelopment Authority. Through the chair to the administration, I can't recall seeing those minutes in quite some time. Do you have any sort of perspective on that through the chair? If we've been provided that and I've missed it, through the chair to the administration.
Mr. Manager?
Through the chair to the council, we have not provided directly to the council, but those are available online for public consumption.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we get the minutes relative to this matter over the last 4 years from the Worcester Redevelopment Authority with their efforts to be sent to the appropriate committee, which would be Economic Development, as that's the committee that has the related board and commission of Worcester Redevelopment Authority. I think it's important that we take a snapshot of what has been going on, Mr. Chairman. And
is that the councilor acknowledging that they haven't bothered to look at the minutes of those meetings in 4 years?
It was referenced that there was a land disposition and development agreement. So with respect to municipal disposition law, my question is that considered a covenant agreement? Is it a breach of contract? I understand that there's a TIF aspect to this. And in addition to that, as a secondary question through the chair, is if it is a breach of contract, if it is a covenant sort of agreement, outside of the eminent domain aspect, is government allowed to pursue additional legal remedies with respect to this developer through the chair?
Mr. Duncan?
Look at Peter.
Yeah, he's on to put him on the spot.
Slumped down in his chair.
This is similar to a contract, and there are provisions that need to be complied with. We recognize that there are provisions that have a possibility of having been breached, such as the timeline for the construction of the left building, also the notice provision. And part of our opportunities in our exploring our path forward is a meeting with the WRA. So on Thursday morning, they've requested the developer to appear before the board so that they can hear from him, discuss options moving forward. If there are any legal remedies, that's after that conversation, we'll have more information to determine how to act on these.
Thank you so much. I know that in extreme circumstances, there's a reclamation aspect with regards to damages. For non-compliance.
Madison still owns the property like across from Boulevard, correct?
This body does support.
Yeah, I
all,
forget which lots exactly they have.
Any and all.
This is such a Worcester thing to happen to us.
Legal remedies with respect to this developer, like a
Sorry,
report
Bill, can you
back
repeat that?
on as what was referenced.
South side of
anything that's
Madison,
determined
they
a breach
own
of
basically
contract,
Yeah.
or a breaking of a covenant, as it relates to municipal disposition law. I want to explore and have a report back on all legal options with respect to this developer, Mr. Chairman. Damages, Mr. Chairman. We have an obligation.
The report from,
to do
what is
that.
it, from
You know,
Bauman,
when I
the
first got on
professor
council, one of
lost?
the things that I heard repeatedly is that developers are hesitant,
What was that
have some
report I read?
trepidation with respect to engaging in work with this city. And we've come quite a long way in that regard, Mr. Chairman. Quite a long way. And as referenced, we're going to get into this later, when you have Madison Properties or Mr. Dowdle involved with the College of the Holy Crosses acquiring 14 or so properties when we're in the midst of a housing crisis up there on the hill. We got to do what we can to protect folks. I know there's a contingency out there that's concerned about the fact that we acquired the ballpark. Well, we did. We got to do the best that we can at this point, Mr. Chairman. So those will be my orders. We have to be able to claw back. We have to be able to address and remedy violations of the land disposition and development agreement. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, in addition to the TIF. And I do support, again, big government is acquiring land, taking a property. That's big government. We've talked about it previously, and I'm very, very hesitant to do so. But in this particular matter, with the track record of this group,
WRA isn't like
big government to
continue to
acquire
work with us,
land.
and
Moses
if
run
we
that?
do
Not to
that,
build
then
a
we
park.
will. Thank you.
Councilor Russell?
That wasn't big government. You voted for that fucking shit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I spoke with you informally this afternoon,
This ought to
I
be great.
pointed out that I said, "Gee, these."
Will this member of the real
Did you
estate
do it around in
industry-
Dangerfield or two?
And I asked the clerk, the assistant clerk, I should say, AJ, to do some research because I said, "Gee, I feel like I've been through this conversation before." And it was an item that I had requested during finance. And I would encourage everyone in the community to go to the archives on our city website for the 6/6/23 Finance Committee meeting. And right at the 3-minute mark, 3 minute, and I think the 3 hour and 1 minute mark, there is this whole conversation happening again from back then, from June 6th of 2023. The only difference in the conversation from then, Mr. Chairman, like you referenced, I don't know if you watched it too, but the auditor and the city manager and everyone, but the auditor, verified. I think I asked him kind of an informal question. I said, "We okay? We paying our bills?" And it was just a general question. He said, "We're good until 2024."
Well, I'm gonna hop up. I think that
He told us right then.
people need to wake up what's going on. And again, people need to wake up, I think, when it comes to this municipal election coming up in 2025.
On that building,
So we need new leadership. We need fresh eyes. And we need, people that are willing to, toe the line for the community,
I've
not
got a
for
couple
big
questions
developers.
along that line.
That's why I'm running for District 2.
How much
So,
was?
Oh, you are? Oh, I didn't know.
But no, I lived in District 2 my whole life, man, and I think like so many other parts of the city, it's a great place to live, and we need to do better for investing in our communities and our neighborhoods, our centers of neighborhood commerce, our neighborhood infrastructure. Polo Park, Madison Street, very well lit.
So
But if you
over
go to the
last
top of
3
Hamilton
years,
Street
they've
right
paid an
now,
amount
it is
that was
very
around
dark. It's a high traffic area.
$280. It goes up
Same thing with
incrementally each
Plantation
year.
Street up by
So
Holmes
going
Field.
into
Same thing with
FY
Lake Ave,
25, they would have
Belmont,
paid
Channing Street,
$297,
Lincoln Street. So
So they
we,
would have
we've,
paid a
we've
little
drifted
under
too far
300
from that, and
At
I
this
really,
I threw a little under
my
300.
number one focus is that. So I appreciate you guys having me on. I gotta
Follow-up
get
to
that.
that.
Yeah,
Last year,
well,
there was an
listen,
overture.
we're going to have you back on
Talking
soon
amongst
to
the
talk
videotape,
more about the election next year,
that
obviously,
amount
and
was actually
this is unfolding.
couple hundred thousand plus, wasn't
We're
it,
just
Mr. McGurk?
I'm happy to hear your thoughts. I'm glad you came on to talk to us a little
Through the
bit.
chair,
For anybody that's looking to get involved with your campaign now, is there anything that people can do anywhere that you want to direct them?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook on Robert Bellata for District 2, on Instagram, R Bellata for District 2. Anyone can donate, you know what I mean? Where I know I run into a lot of folks that are like, oh, I wish I could vote for you, and I love everyone's support. And you can still support financially because, like, again, like these small campaigns are really ran a grassroots campaign last time, and I want to do that again. So any amount is helpful, 15, 20 bucks. It really goes a long way, honestly. And I want to make this campaign accessible to everyone too.
Where's this going?
So you can find me online on Facebook, on Instagram.
To this council, we're down 700. If we're up 300.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll throw your link up, your donation link up. We'll grab it and throw it up in the chat for the rest of the night. But make sure that you're following Rob on social media. And yeah, Rob, we'll have you on again very soon. Thank you for jumping on with us tonight. It's always great to talk to you.
No, you too, guys. Take care. We'll be in touch.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Hey, Rob.
What the memo in front of you reconciles is the budget amount. Each year since
That's
the
great. I love having Rob on.
Account in FY23, we've come to City Council to allocate money to the diff account.
Thank you, Travis, for throwing that up in the chat.
Those include tax dollars that the city collects.
If you follow that link there, that'll get you to his donation page and his social media
And then the city
as
allocates
well.
those amounts over to the diff. That's part of a budget process, so it's prospective. We are looking ahead to the fiscal year to determine how much money
I'll just say that,
collect during the course
and
of the
again,
fiscal
this
year.
isn't going to be, we're going to talk about it a lot more in the future,
account
but
remains positive.
when we
The
talk about
account,
Puller Park, when we talk
again,
about
at the end of
city
FY24
council's
was actually $235,000
response to it
positive.
and the way they handled it
What
as it
we've
was
done
coming
now,
down
though,
the
is we go
road,
back and we reconcile
I think there'd
to
be a
get
stark
all of the
difference between
collections that occurred based on
having
the
Candy Merrill
properties on the
Carlson
account,
there
based on the
and having Rob
municipal
Bellata there.
taxes that were generated during the course
Agreed.
of the fiscal year, the permit fees
And I know
generated during the
I
course of
would
the
much
fiscal
rather
year.
have Rob
And
Bellata
that's what
advocating
this
for
number
the
792
people of his district and the city
It's
overall
not a
than I
deficit
would
in the actual ballpark
Candy
account
Merrill
right now.
Carlson when it comes
It's
to
the
developers of
budget
any stripe.
that was assessed for FY24 of 2.3 million. The collections did not meet the actual budgeted amounts. So there were monies that the diff account holds now that are due back to the city. And that will be reconciled over the course of years as the diff passes funds and gets to the point that there are excess revenues that can be repaid back to the city accounts.
So the council, by their vote tonight and in the future, would be saying that we're
absolutely
using
crazy.
that $700,000+ to make these numbers work, as opposed to using them in our neighborhoods, as Councilor Hajia referenced.
George Russell is right 2 times. Broken clock.
Through the chair, it is true that there are $700,000 of revenue that the city generated that is transferred to the ballpark as part of that budget that ultimately were not generated within the ballpark district and therefore were owed to the city. They could have been used by other city activities, but for the fact they were budgeted through the ballpark process.
So my next
What a
question
straightforward
is,
answer.
who built-
Something horrible.
What we
Yeah.
have there, by the way, maybe Mr. Dunn or the manager, where the left field building is, or what's supposed to be, there's a foundation there, there's a pad to be built. It has parking underneath, I believe, like a small parking garage or some kind.
Yeah, honestly,
So that's already there. Is that-
having Rob win isn't just about getting rid of Candy Carlson, which is I think a huge improvement. We'd just be lucky to have him on the council in general.
And you asked who owns it. Who built it? We, the city, built it.
All right, so the city built it, but who owns it?
Through the chair to the council, Dennis Dowdle owns that property now.
Okay, so, and how much did it cost the city to build that slab?
Mr. Dunn?
Through to the chair to the councilor, we could probably go back in our agreement with Gilbane Hunt to kind of isolate the costs related to what we would call like the site preparation. There, just one point of clarification that I would make is that there was sort of a line of delineation where we had to do certain activities because the property abuts the ballpark, as you know. So we were doing certain things that allowed us to ensure the structure of the ballpark, some like waterproofing. It's right near the kind of fire lane and the fan deck area there. But in terms of the foundation and some of the steel that you see kind of coming out of the ground right now, those were investments made by Madison Properties. So they ultimately did use Gilbane Hunt as well because of the important to have the kind of harmony between what Gilbane Hunt was doing at the limit of our property line and some of the site preparation. We did do some site preparation in there as well.
Yeah.
There is a slab.
I don't want to guess at a number. but
Pre-construction.
Yeah, I don't want to guess at a number right now, but we did some level
This
of
is also
essentially site preparation and some of the
maybe the slab that
necessary
has to
infrastructure right at the
that
border
isn't
of our
high enough
property
for a truck
line.
to
But
get
then
through.
Gilbane Hunt was under contract with Madison Properties,
'cause that's
and
right
he
in
really
Madison,
constructed some of the, I guess what you would say is like the beginnings of the building. That was an investment made by Madison Properties.
But with all due respect, Mr. Dunn, through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm getting almost a little bit different than what the manager just said. Did the city build it? Or did Madison Properties build it? Mr. Dowdle?
Yeah.
Who paid for it? Who wrote a check to the contractor to build that slab? Was it the city of Worcester or was it Dennis Dowdle and his company? Who cut that check?
Through the chair to the councilor, the foundation, the slab, that was activities that Gilbane Hunt did under contract with Madison Properties.
Okay, so it was a separate project and a separate.
That's not what they were saying before, right?
So when the manager just said briefly that we built it as a city, we might have put it as part of the plan, but we didn't pay for it?
That's the opposite of what he just said.
Mr. Dunn?
Through the chair to
Am I
the councilor,
crazy?
that's somewhat correct. Again, as I prefaced when I was responding, I was making a point of clarification. The city manager is not wrong that we did have some investment on that site, but it's just what we paid for versus what he
I'd like to see a very, very, very detailed report come back to this council very soon on who built that slab, who paid for the engineering for it, who paid for the planning for it, and who owns the dirt under it. We know the dirt under it is owned by Madison Properties and Dennis Dowdle, but who did all that work? And if that work had agreements, other agreements that went back and forth, I'd like a real detailed report on that. Mr. Chairman, who owns the land under the ballpark? Through you to the manager? Just want to be clear. Who owns that?
Through the chair to the council, we do.
City of Worcester.
City of Worcester.
Okay. So, but the land under the slab is owned by Madison Properties?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I had some other notes here about, the activities with Mr. Dowdle's company. I had notes about exploring any possible lawsuit to enforce any contract that we had about, I don't understand how the city, in goodwill, could, when we do business with anybody wants to buy a surplus pencil from us, we have them sign a statement saying that they are in good standing with the city of Worcester. And I would hope that we would be doing that same kind of thing with Mr. Dowdle going forward, and his companies. I would support the motions made by Councilor Merrill Carlson and Councilor King about legal action.
Yeah, Screwball, you're right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. So we will, along with the motions, we will send this to Economic Development. Roll call.
Yeah.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Caloyo?
Yes.
Councilor Agia?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Merrill Carlson? Yes. Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilor Ojeda?
Yes.
Councilor
So the
Pasillo?
Worcester
Yes.
Redevelopment
Councilor Russell?
Authority is going to be an
Councilor
interesting one to
Toomey?
pay attention
Yes.
to.
And Mayor Petty.
Yes, we have finance items, 9.35A, 9.36A, and 9.37A.
If
We held
Madison Properties and
9.36B,
Dennis
the
Dowdle are
privilege.
going
So roll call.
acting as a shell company for
Council
WPI.
Bergman?
That means
Yes.
that
Council Calorio?
Yes.
Council Agia?
Yes.
Council King?
Yes.
Council Mara
there's
Carlson?
probably some
Council
WRA
Leon?
involvement
Council
with them
Duda?
because,
Council
you know,
Pasillo?
Yes.
that's Mike
Council Russell?
Angelini, the shadow
Yes.
master of
Toomey?
Worcester's
Yes.
board,
Mayor Petty?
and he's a Holy Cross guy.
9.388, advertise proposed loan audit on a roll call. Roll call.
Council-
There's probably some,
Councilor Ojeda has recused himself.
that's going to be interesting.
Council Bergman?
Yes.
Also, don't forget that's where Ed
Yes.
Augustus was
Council
before he
Agia?
became city manager.
Council King?
Right.
Yes.
Council Mara
Yeah.
Carlson?
And
Council Nian?
Yes.
Council
is Tim Murray a
Pasillo?
Holy
Yes.
Cross guy?
Council Russell?
No.
Yes.
Council Toomey?
Yes.
Mayor Petty?
He went to the School of Hard Knocks, right?
Yeah,
So
right,
we have,
yeah.
down 10A, 10B have been held under privilege. 10C.
You know where he should have gone? Fucking
Commission
skid
Communication
school,
Relative
driving
to a
school.
List of properties purchased by College University
Yeah.
in 2019 to present.
He went to
where
he
the
went to an
College
Irish
University
driving
kept the
school.
property
just
on the
saying.
tax rolls, and he signed community benefit agreements associated with the new projects and these properties and what changes, if any, made to the power contributions. We'll send that to Councilor Hajian.
It's 10C?
We are on 10C, correct.
So this information came as a result of an order I had put back in 2022, asking us to, and just want to clarify, my order wasn't about, as it was, I think, reflected at the time, about pilots or negotiating pilots. It was about giving the residents of District 5 who have had multiple conversations around Clark's expansion into the neighborhood, but also other conversations around the expansion of colleges and universities and getting a bigger picture of what's happening in our neighborhoods. And I appreciate Mr. McGurthy and the city manager for me to walk me through
Worcester
the
Development
information,
Authority
which
meets
was
at
hopefully
8:30
will be
That's brutal.
helpful to the residents who have asked, but also help guide conversations.
Bill, your
in
camera
the
is
future
frozen in like
about
this most
the
sullen little
role and
pose on my side,
responsibilities
and
that colleges and
it's really making me
universities
happy.
have in regards
Oh, there
to
you
our
are.
neighborhoods.
Shit.
I would like to make
Now you're
form of
working
a
again, never
motion,
mind.
to put the
Oh, yeah.
spreadsheet perhaps in a way that
Worcester
makes
Development
sense,
Authority, Madison
on our
WG
website,
Holdings,
so that
LLC.
it can be referred to the residents or by the residents who want
First
this
thing on the
information. I'll be super brief on this one. You know, for me at least, this order was about painting a picture of what's happening in our neighborhoods. We had multiple conversations on this council tonight about the role of developments, the strain that they're putting on our city staff, and what is not getting done in our neighborhoods as a result of some of
Ben,
these
Holy
behaviors
Cross
from the developers. And
totally
I'm not shining on any
Number
colleges
one,
and
CIA
universities, but I
connected.
do want to make a point that when you look at the spreadsheet,
Number
you can
two,
see, for example,
completely dominates
that in
officials.
Councilor Russell's
Number
district,
three,
Holy
pretty
Cross
sure that
has
they picked the
the most
route
properties. I was a
Though I
resident
cannot say that
of
for
the
a
district
fact
for a long
yet,
time, and in the time, in the 10 years that I lived there, you could tell the
I have a
amount of expansion and
Because
the amount of absorption that
it's crazy how
Holy
they're able to
Cross
wall themselves off from
applied to the neighborhood against the wishes of the neighborhood association and all of us neighbors at the time. It worries me that this kind of expansion.
Do you think you're even
is,
allowed to watch Roger Rabbit up at Holy
is
Cross, or is it
impinging
too close
on
to home?
Our neighborhoods, and we're not really truly able to quantify the negative impact that it has. We've had multiple conversations with the city manager specifically about the Clark property. By the way, Mr. Manager, I have full faith in you to negotiate pilot agreements. I have expressed to you at least my wishes for what I would like to see in terms of a
also
pilot agreement
in
for Clark. But the picture that we have in
the
front of us
contract between Madison
paints
and
a
the
reality
city.
that I think worries me a little bit.
The
and
contract
worries
requires
the
them to
residents
do
that,
regular
are talking
updates
about the lack
with
of housing, for
the
example,
Economic Development
or
Coordinating
quality of
Council
life issues that
and members
expanding into
of
our
the
neighborhood
City
brings with
Council
it. So
Economic Development
I
Committee.
would like to see us have a yearly
It doesn't say that
conversation,
they have to give
not necessarily
any
about pilots,
updates
because
to
I
any
understand
public
that
entity
Councilor King's
involved
order to create
in
a pilot task
the
force is going to
authorization
be
of
actualizing
their tax
soon.
deal
But
or any
beyond
public
that, I'd like
spending
us to have a conversation yearly on how we're monitoring
Polar Park.
the expansion
They
of these
meet
colleges,
in
the
private
properties
with
that are
the
getting
Economic
purchased.
Development
I know that's
Coordinating
part
Committee,
of Councilmember Carson's institutional zoning.
which doesn't take
but beyond
minutes,
that is
and
to
you can't go to those meetings.
make sure that
So this whole all this
we're
bullshit
able to
about
quantify the impact
the
that
fact
these
that they got a letter and had no idea.
expansions have onto our
Right.
residents.
Prove it.
So I'm
Right.
really hoping that
Prove
we
it.
continue to have this conversation yearly, and as Mr. McGurthy educated me on.
Yeah, it is,
some of the
Ben, it's
processes,
super shady.
it's not
All
always
of
clear,
all of this stuff
that
goes
we
on
understand all the time
like
when properties
completely
are
behind
being
closed
purchased.
doors before it ever hits.
And I'm not gonna butcher the information that you gave me because I don't wanna mess it up, but I would like us to have a yearly conversation about monitoring what properties are getting purchased and what impact they're having into our neighborhoods.
Just can't run a city like
Lastly,
a
I would
private
say I was
company.
very happy
Just
to
can't.
hear and learn
Should
that
try.
Clark University will start getting, will pay taxes very soon. I am certainly very, very worried that that neighborhood particularly is going to see 2 vacant properties now for decades. And given the market conditions and what I'm hearing from conversations with you, Mr. Manager, and with Clark, that the property may not get developed. So it's great that they're going to be paying taxes, but again, the impact that it might have in the neighborhood for a vacant land that may remain there for years, it worries me a lot. Those are the types of quantifiable impacts that I worry as a district councilor for that neighborhood, and I'm sure my colleagues would agree as well, and especially Councilor Russell with the expansion that Holy Cross is having into the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of comments. I've certainly mentioned a number of times on this floor in trying to encourage our nonprofits and our colleges when they're looking at trying to have space and places for their students that they're building up and not out during a time of housing crisis.
I hate it when
Look at
Christian says this.
You know, to know it's one thing.
If you want
drive past Holy
places
Cross,
to build up and not out,
in the mornings,
fucking change
coming from my
this
home,
goddamn zoning.
so you can see
Change the goddamn
streets
zoning so they
being bought,
can.
right? You can see the development.
That's so
in
annoying.
terms of that visual, but to see it on paper here, Mr. Chairman, we're talking double digits of housing in terms of number of folks or families that could have benefited from this when simply they can build up. And I'm going to once again take this opportunity
Up,
to encourage
but not out.
Exactly. That. Build up, not out, into our neighborhoods.
This is such a
where
silly
folks
place.
are struggling the most, where folks are
Change
cost-burdened.
the zoning.
And earlier,
Oh
we
my
had folks
God.
testify about what the vacancy rate was reported about a year
That
or
was
so
the night
ago.
that the skeletons came to life.
Extremely low here in the city of Worcester, Mr. Chairman. And
the bones are their
I'm
money.
looking forward to
So are the worms.
in execution of a task force to assist us in addressing this.
The developers need to build
Chairman,
up, but not out.
And there's a lot of need here. I think there's a lot of money we're missing out on. I appreciate that Clark is taking a step. That's only happening because of the things that we've done on this council, Mr. Chairman.
Did you finish Detroiters?
Almost to a person. Our councilors
I have a
talked
couple
about this
episodes of
stuff.
season 2 left to watch, but you're right. It's the,
And talked about
the
the
final
need
episode
for
of
folks to
season
do their
1
fair share. That's what this is about.
is
Everybody
just,
has to do their fair share.
just amazing.
And,
when he
community
howls at the moon,
my colleague
and then
just-
Tim's like,
just
"We gotta get you
referenced,
back."
It's important and to really have a proper accounting and assessing and evaluation of these properties.
It's just so fucking crazy
it's
good.
certainly lacking.
It honestly makes me tear up watching it because he shouldn't be that good. Kevin Nash should not be that good in it, and it should not be. It's an objectively silly,
And I'm hoping that
borderline offensive thing, like storyline.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It's so heartwarming and
Escape from the loony bin.
We gotta figure this out.
when they're at the lunch with the guy, and he's like, "I'm gonna tell you, man, I don't appreciate that joke. I love my wife."
Yeah, it's so
Important
sick.
and necessary service.
He's just the corniest like old man joke of all time to our wives and girlfriends.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also commend the city manager and his staff for
The best
striking
fucking show
the-
ever made.
It certainly is much better than we were at with WPI. I know Clark University is stepping forward with some positive news, but at the end of the day, we've spoken on this. Many of us have spoken on this floor before. I know I have, since almost probably my first term on the council regarding the percentages of on property in the city of Worcester that we cannot tax. And although the percentages may have changed, I haven't had an update, my recollection is it used to be around 30%, which means that 70% of the taxpayers pay 100% of the bill. Now, again, there's progress, and I don't want to diminish the accomplishments of the city manager. I think you've done a great job, and the staff. I'm positive to hear Clark University stuff.
Does Mo think that the city can change, like, federal nonprofit
There's legislation pending. And
He wants
unless and until that
We can't effectively transition to EVs, but we can change those rules anytime we want to.
we're gonna get
run for fucking
occasional,
Congress.
You know, good deals from colleges, but they seem to be good deals.
Mo ran
Because
for
at the end of the
Congress,
day,
he would get
there
a
isn't a
lot of
better
money.
deal they have to do. So there's going to be some piecemeal deals that are made here and there. But, you know, we're lamenting, as we should, over a $700,000 figure that at the moment we have to come to terms with regarding the ballpark. And if I remember the number last
Jim
time,
McGovern is
it's gonna
enemy
be corrected.
number
When we
one.
get asked
Jim
in the
McGovern was saying
past,
some
what's the
fucking
number
buck wild
had
shit
we
today.
been able to tax these
Where
properties,
somebody pulled some clips on
that we would
C-SPAN.
have as additional revenue. I think the number was
What'd he
close to
say?
$1 billion. It certainly was hundreds of millions of dollars.
Like, just like
So
sticking up
when we
for
run into,
trans people,
pitfalls,
saying that
crisis,
the
or
cabinet
the
appointees are a
finances,
bunch of like sickos and
we
wackos
shouldn't
and shit.
forget the fact
Oh, yeah.
that there's opportunities
I'll
out
find the
there
one.
in fairness that we should be pursuing, and you know, we've all looked.
Remember
at
when
it
Steve
over and
Schimmel
over
was going to
again,
run against McGovern and then he
and
just
we've had
didn't do
reports
it?
on it, and at the end
That
of
was
the day, other than making the moral persuasion to our college universities to do better, we can't do better unless there's state legislation that allows us to do better on a wholesale basis, you know, not on a piecemeal basis. So I
All
hope
right,
we
so run
continue to
for
encourage our
fucking
state
state house.
delegation, and I haven't heard from them where they stand on this, but we've talked about it. Councilor King's mentioned it before, others on this council have mentioned before. There's state legislation pending, requiring a certain percentage of nonprofits that have property values over, I think it's $15 million to contribute. And I hope we continue to push that legislation, because unless and until we do,
Yeah, McGovern said,
we're
quote,
gonna get
what the hell is
crumbs
going
and
on
we'll
here?
get the whole load.
And the cabinet picks so
City
far,
deserves a whole load.
these are like
Thank you,
beyond
Mr. Chairman.
insane. Someone who paid hush money to cover up a sexual assault
Okay, so send
accusation,
that
you know, to lead our
to,
military.
I'm sorry.
Someone who says the tap water turns
Thank you,
kids
Mr.
gay.
Chair.
That was the frogs that turned gay. The kids are fine. That was public school that was turning the kids gay. It's the water that turns the frogs gay.
About working
The frogs gay.
to try to
Does The Onion own that clip now?
exclude
Maybe.
residential
Yeah.
properties from the Dover Amendment. Clearly, we see the result of all those properties being taken off.
Jim McGovern
And-
loves
Mention Holy
to
Cross
swear.
once challenge.
And it's
Jim
not
McGovern loves
educating
swearing on the
people,
floor
but-
of
And
Congress.
frankly, some
Yeah.
of the properties that are owned by the schools, they're making money off of it. So, you know, I really think that this discussion needs to continue, and I think that we need to be firm on this, because this clearly these schools are continuing to grow. And they're
Be
Yeah.
firm on what?
beyond, into the
This is an
neighborhoods, and it's
informational
really
item
disruptive
about the
to our
amount of
community.
properties in colleges.
So I
Oh.
would ask that we
there's
continue
no-
to push on this as part of
What does
one
push
of
on this
many
mean, Kate?
one of many tools to put
What
in
tools?
the toolbox. Thank you.
What
Thank you.
toolbox?
So
What are you talking
Send
about?
that to MO
God.
and also the
There's
motions.
just the audacity to get
Council
up in
Bergman?
front of
Yes.
Councilor
the local
Calorio?
cable
Yes.
access and
Councilor
everyone in that
Gia?
room
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yeah.
and just
I
say
wanna-
something that
Carlson?
means fucking
Councilor
nothing.
Nguyen?
Right?
I want to know where her sunglasses went.
Councilor Pasillo?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
What
Yes.
Kate Toomey just said meant
Yes.
less than
Information of the Worcester Regional Research Bureau regarding the
It actually
civil
took away
service,
meaning from other things that people have said. It had negative meaning.
local.
negative meaning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Just
That was
two
a
quick
void.
motions
She
on
didn't
this.
just
I
she
did take
didn't
the
just
time
didn't
to go
imply
through
that they were
this
tools.
as it-
She
with respect
implied
to
an
civil
entire
service. I know
toolbox.
there's some litigation pending as well.
There's not any
But I
tools.
do have, if I can just turn to the page here, a couple of orders, motions I'd like to make, Mr. Chairman, based on my review of this. One is, there's a reference in the back from the commission's, Civil Service Commission questions and comments indicated in a response from City Legal Counsel that there was an awareness of blanket RFPs quote, to allow all departments within the city to utilize an assessment center. So without getting into all of that, I'd just like a motion for a report back on, with respect to identifying and describing those RFPs, and which departments the intention is
Worcester
for the
Research
city to
Bureau.
utilize an assessment center. And then in addition to that, you know, this issue of PAR 10 is something that we've talked about, and I've talked about in the community for a period of time. And I just want to ask through the chair, in order to save my time, if there could be a quick explanation of what PAR 10 is, through the chair to the administration.
Mr. Manager?
Through the chair to the council, I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, a Part 10. I'd be happy to come back with a report to explain further, but right now I don't know what you're referring to.
Okay, so, thank you. So Part 10 is something we've discussed over a period of years. And it's also been discussed in the community that would allow under civil service, so not just with respect to the positions that we're looking to exempt, but just overall, that it's a way under civil service to hire and promote officers from historically underserved groups whenever possible. And the city has declined over the years to use Part 10. I don't know if we still can. I know the governor did something with Part 10 some time ago. So we can just get a report back on what that is for the council, and also, you know, an order, a motion that we use Part 10 or any means that we can for the larger rank and file folks in the police department and across in the police department to increase a more diverse employment of officers, Mr. Chairman. That would be my motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Toomey?
Through you, Mr. Chair. To that end, I'd like to ask that we have an updated report on the efforts of the Worcester Police Department to recruit minority officers. I know that they've been out there working diligently out in the community and engaging young men and women of color. And so I'd like an updated report. Thank you.
We'll send this to public safety. One of the motions to the manager. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman? Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor G.A.? Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Merrill Carlson? Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilor Ojeda?
Yes.
Councilor Pasillo?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty.
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I'll do a suspension.
A suspension, Councilor Hagi and Councilor Russell.
Super quickly, it's truly been very hard to concentrate in this meeting, actually. So I know that's the elephant in the room, but I do want to make sure that we condemn what happened just outside the hallway where a member of our community was attacked. I don't know what precipitated that behavior, but I'm going to make an appeal to our community. Please stop. This is a sacred place. This is a sacred place where democracy happens. We have disagreements with each other. This expression of violence.
The sanctity of City Hall.
It just needs to stop. It doesn't matter what political persuasion one is.
No, she's right.
It doesn't matter how much we disagree with each other, whether it's threats through the phone, whether it's the vandalizing of our homes,
I think
our cars,
referring to Worcester City
verbal
Hall as a
threats,
sacred place
harassment
is...
online. I'm appealing to our community, please stop. We can find a way to have conversations, to disagree with each other, to be angry at each other, to have opinions about things. But to come here and attack a member of our community is unacceptable. It is unacceptable, and I have to say, Mr. Chair,
it just didn't get addressed.
It was really hard to concentrate for those of us that have experienced violence before in various forms. It was really hard to be here tonight. I don't know. I don't think we need a statement from anybody here, but I am going to make another appeal to our community members. Please stop with harassment. Please stop with the verbal attacks. Please stop antagonizing people. You have a disagreement. It's fine to take time off from each other. It is completely unacceptable to come to this place of employment for all of us, for the public, and have that kind of display of violence and aggression in a way that has left a mark, certainly in me, and I'm sure other people. I do want to end with something that perhaps might be a little bit controversial. I would caution my colleagues, I would caution community members to not jump to reactionary solutions such as putting metal detectors here. I think that we are capable as a community to tone down our rhetoric, to be able to resolve our disagreements, to be able to find a way to take time off and walk out if need be from each other, but to resort to knee-jerk reactions such as immediately jumping to metal detectors, it feels a little harsh for me. So I apologize to the community member who got attacked. I hope that they are okay. And whether you agree or disagree with them, it's important that we condemn these acts of violence no matter where they happen.
Thank you, Councilor Russell. Followed by Councilor King.
I got my desk view.
Agree with my colleague that this is a sacred place, and I too ask the community, all the community, to take everything down a notch. I think it's I don't know what went on in the hallway. I didn't see anything. The doors were closed. I was looking at the flag, so I'm not gonna.
All right.
As
time
always.
to make this time to turn this into a one-to-one parallel to the Gaza demonstration. It's the same thing.
And that kind of activity and this kind of the climate.
There's many fine people on both sides.
It's true.
This community, this whole community needs to take it down a notch. When folks take the time,
That's exactly
to
what I was
write
saying.
blogs and call people, swear names in those blogs.
Bill,
And
let's talk about
send
you.
them around like it's
Yeah, Bill, stop swearing at George. He's a nice man.
It's just this whole mood in the community. We need to all get together and roll up our sleeves and just stop all this stuff.
What do you mean?
Stop
No,
it.
you need to
We can
just
agree to
stop being
disagree
such a
on issues,
fucking
we can
idiot.
Shake hands, we can move on.
There you go again.
We
What
can
that?
take a high road and represent the people that sent us here.
Oh, I'm so sorry I called you a swear name. You voted for a deal that's
No.
going to bankrupt our city for 30 fucking years.
You know what?
And
I want to take the
trust
rhetoric
you
down a
can make
notch.
judgment on coming
George
forward
Russell
with
is a shithead.
security things. I'm not going to get into that. Mr. Chairman, I had asked to be heard on the suspension because I had a separate item that I wanted to present or to ask the administration.
I
for
know, I
report
called him a swear
for the
name.
next available meeting.
That's the same
I'd
thing
like
as
to
spray
get
painting
the
someone in the
assessed
face.
value
Yeah.
of the slab, the left field building slab that Mr. Donald's company owns. I'd like to get the assessed value, and I'd like to know the last time the assessor was in there and what that value was, because I think that, I might be wrong, but I would think that if there was a deal that it was going to already generate so much in taxes, but that might not have been something we looked at. But I think that property, when it comes out, and I'm not telling the assessor how to do his job, but I think it should be assessed at whatever the fair market value is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also speak on the incident that occurred with respect to one of our constituents that was perpetrated by another constituent. And from what I saw, that constituent that appears to have committed the act is someone I've always known to be a gentleman, Mr. Chairman. I don't know what that's all about. I'm not going to speculate on that. But what I will say is...
Let's speculate as to why there were no cops in City Hall tonight.
And when they showed up, they didn't have their body cameras
I
on.
unequivocally reject that. We are in from the floor, not from us, from a resident. I reject that. We are talking about a place with open doors. You're not buzzed in. It's a different level of security that's required for those sorts of spaces, Mr. Chairman. And, we did have an executive session that we can't speak on. I'm confident with what will come out of that executive session. as we move forward. I do want to say, and I know that in
They're gonna set up
operations, I think it was
spray
recently
paint
heard or
guns
about to
around
be
this
heard,
building.
the order that I filed.
They're gonna have the
regarding
automatic
a report concerning the
machine
parameters
gun
in
things that
place,
are outside of
to protect
the houses of
appointed
the
officials
people
in
in
the
Fortnite
event that a conflict
that get their
arises, thus and so, and so on.
Or like from Fallout.
And in terms of our colleagues, you know, different things happen to different people. We're not privy to it. You hear bits and pieces. So I don't know how this plays for different councilors or the mayor or whomever. What I do know is I always wrestle with the idea of should we be sharing. And now we have staff, right? We have staff that's assigned to our council that deals with these individuals. In addition to that, Mr. Chairman, we have employees here when folks come into the building. And sure, setting up certain things are one thing, but you know, I think we have to get to a
Gio, no
place where
swear
we
words.
figure out how to communicate some of this stuff, even when
Yeah, you need to stop calling people by swear names.
Yeah, they're called gosh darns.
on the council.
Mobile suit gosh darns.
You know, and I will say, I've had my own experiences, particularly this summer, with folks being disruptive and showing up physically and what have you. And I've put on notice the manager, the mayor, chief of police, and our staff, and specifically the staff assigned to me, so that they know some of the reported concerns that have been brought to me in my capacity as an elected official. And I'll say this, I would appreciate if some things were ramped down, but I don't think that that's the reality, Mr. Chairman, where we are right now as a country and as a municipality, and as a city, as a region. I know that I had to deal with a situation just yesterday with someone who was waving a big flag, and you know,
They're dead now.
What we're
It was
dealing with
Kate
right now.
waving
Sure,
the
we
American
can
flag upside
make
down.
examples, but I also think we have to figure out, you know, how and when to communicate so that we can ensure everyone's safety in the chamber and out, Mr. Chairman. So I'm going to take a look at any meetings that have occurred in MLO regarding that particular order, and you know, we're going to have to do what we can to be a model for the city. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and I didn't see what happened either, but I do appreciate the comments tonight, and whether it be inside this chamber or outside this chamber, whether we have position of police officer between the councilor and the audience a few weeks ago, I think people have to just bring their rhetoric down, and
Well,
whether it be in
come
here
on.
or outside, and that includes all of us. And,
Fuck
and
that
I think we
shit.
do a pretty good job at it, and but I think we just have to be more, you know, stern on how it really look at ourselves and make sure that when we present the city well going forward, and it's unfortunate what happened tonight. So we will motion to adjourn. Roll call.
Council Bergman?
Yes.
Council Calorio?
Yes.
Council Hadjia? Council King?
Yes.
Council Moore Carlson?
Yes.
Council Nguyen?
Yes.
Council Ojeda?
Yes.
Council Basillo?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Council Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes.
Oh boy.
Who's got the best rumors about what happened tonight?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know nothing. You guys got more info than I do, I think.
Yeah, I tried for all of 5 minutes to track down the B and Carey elite,
Yeah, I didn't get anything on that.
and I didn't find anything. But I did find out that David Webb started a Substack, so
Oh, cool.
he owes me a percentage. He owes me a percentage on
Finder's fee.
everything. He owes me a finder's fee on everything he posts that like kind of sort of looks like what I post. But anyway, I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it's nice, good stuff on the
I
Substack
guarantee you that there's an online paper trail that we can find that will. There's no way that didn't start as like a Worcester political dialogue beef.
Oh yeah, right.
And if I was willing to even look at that page for 1 second, then I'm sure we could find it.
Yeah. Facebook is just awful. That's where so much of the most toxic local political rhetoric goes on.
Yeah.
Like in general. And it used to be, I mean, I'm old enough to remember when Twitter was really the place where everyone was nasty. And I'm still over there being nasty like every day. But it's just not the same arena. Like Facebook is.
Everyone is a piece of shit on Facebook because the only people that talk are like
Pieces of shit,
weird shut-ins, and like old, like miserable old people.
Right.
And they're just so fucked up to each other.
Miserable old people, David Webb, and that the white woman that says the N-word.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm on Blue Sky. You know.
I'm on Blue. I'm trying to get more active on Blue Sky. I do think that we need some cranks over there to
mix it up. Yeah, they don't want it.
Yeah.
They don't want it. Nobody wants the cranks on Blue Sky. I was an early Blue Sky adopter.
Were you?
Yeah, I was very early on, very early invite. I snagged an early invite, and there was absolutely nobody talking over there. And I think I could have capitalized and become a personality on Blue Sky.
A celebrity?
Yeah, but I just wasn't willing to. I could have been a celebrity, but I just,
You could have become Sclamus from your skeeting?
Yeah, I could have
become a celebrity.
And I chose not to. But I hope I will eventually be recognized as one of the original 1% of Blue Sky adopters. That definitely, if you go back in my profile, had really funny posts at the first couple days I had it.
I have a. You want to see a funny Blue Sky post? Speaking of, I think you should leave. Can I share screenshots in here? My first tweet is, "Dang, I don't want to do this at all," and then it's Tim Robinson in that full body costume when he's in the mall.
Yeah.
Screenshot of him. Yeah,
Randy
I just
Havoc.
don't want to be around anymore.
Blue Sky's fine. They just need to. There needs to be like another 10 million users, and then, then you can start actually using it to like follow what's going on. But Twitter's a fucking nightmare now. Who cares anymore?
And Facebook is where all the most toxic seeds are planted. I get screenshots of Facebook stuff sent to me sometimes. Today, fucking, what is their name? Colleen West put a post up in the Seven Hills Political Dialogue about how I got Arts Council funding, and the cranks are very mad about that fact, and it's turning into a big conspiracy. To which I have to say, wait till you find out how much I got.
Die mad fuckles.
You're gonna be so. You're gonna be just so fucking mad. And how much fun I had with it.
Yeah. Suckers.
So, I'm toast. I'm toast if you keep posting about all the projects that.
Yeah, that'd be so terrible if people had to like figure out what you were doing and like.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Subscribe to your work to do it.
Just keep posting my name everywhere and talking about my projects. That would be terrible if people kept doing that. So please stop doing that. Yeah.
Definitely don't share any of these things.
don't go to the merch store. That's all I have to say.
Yeah,
and
don't buy a bunch of merch and destroy it.
Right. Don't buy a t-shirt to light it on fire. That would be terrible if you posted a video that tagged me in it. That would be awful. Yeah.
That would be illegal.
Mr. Bear.
Yeah. Look at that guy.
We're gonna zoom in on him. Ready? Put me back on full screen.
It just wants you, Bill. The camera loves you.
I'm made for this. I'm magnanimous. I'm gonna say.
Well, listen. Stupid meeting, like they all are, and we didn't even really. I mean, I think we got some good insight into just how
Impossibly stupid the city is.
Well, yeah, borked we are by this Polar Park deal, and how this
We
is
got boned.
this is just the beginning of how bad it's gonna this debacle. Like $730,000 is very bad to lose from other programs in the city. This is not going to get better. They are abandoning projects. It's not like there's it's slow. This is the preamble to them abandoning projects, and that even if somebody else bought those properties and started developing those, that's what 4 more years until we see anything from those. They're not going to enter into a TIF agreement.
Yeah.
To do it, they'll be bailing out the city.
Peter Dunn basically said that if they had any interest or commitment to building the project, that they would have kept the TIF, right? The fact that they broke it means that stuff's not getting built.
Not happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, so, people need to get that in their heads as far as, not only is that what we're looking at for the next few years, what are we going to do about it? And do you want Joe Petty being, having any say in the matter?
Yeah, Joe Petty tonight, who was just being like, so are we okay? Is it going to be all right?
It is what it is,
It is what it is.
You did the best you could.
It is what it is. Looks like Dennis Dowdle and Ed Augustus might have both conspired to scam the city, and it is what it is.
It is what it is. So yeah, I mean, I guess everyone else run for office too. Come up with some interesting ideas about how we can possibly recoup the situation. But
vote for Rob Bellotta, because Katie Miller-Carlson is just as culpable.
She's big time culpable, and this is what she always does. Is she tries to tone it, bring up the rhetoric when there's the possibility that people are going to notice that it's her fucking fault, and she's all in on this. She until Rob ran against her, she was the number one person touting her ability to work with the developers and her interest in working with the developers and how that's what she's all about. And now all of a sudden, that's different.
Yeah, now all of a sudden she's like, we need to do eminent domain.
We need to do eminent domain. What a fucking flip flop. So I vote. Obviously, if you live in District 2, this. But also, let's get Rob elected in any way we can. Donate, volunteer, get involved. Because a lot needs to be said about how she is, not only culpable, but is the poster child for selling parts of the city out to developers, and how it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything except enrich developers. And
never has.
So
that might change if you'd start saying nice things about people on the internet.
And stop calling them swear names.
Stop calling them swear names.
Like dumb shit. Or
stupid asshole is what I most recently called Mo Bergman.
Dumb dickhead.
Yeah.
So let's focus on that in the weeks ahead, and let's hope we get some more great candidates running. And
it's the time to start announcing stuff.
You know what?
We're getting bad candidates right now.
It would feel so good if Joe Petty wasn't mayor anymore. It would just be very funny if he lost.
God, I would love it.
So thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you. We love you guys, and make sure that you saw it flashed up on the screen before. Nice, that was good. Follow billshaner.substack.com, worcestersucks.email, @worcester_sucks. Subscribe to this channel. Follow us at Wootenanny Comedy as well. We got some shows coming up. The overlays, I can't upload them, but we have a show coming up Saturday. We're helping Jake McKelvey, great musician, Worcester guy, has his record release party at the Hotel Vernon this Saturday, and Shaun and I are hosting it with him. Very excited about that. On 12/5 on December 5th, we have a new show at New Tradition Company called Wild Hogs. It's a new stand-up show that we're hoping to get going, and if we sell it out and if we have a ton of people show up, then that's how we make that happen. It'll be a $5 weekly Thursday show, hopefully. We got a ton of great comedians in the lined up. So come on down, come hang out. We got the Sort of Late Show coming up in December as well, so make sure you're following all these social media accounts, and we will see you next Tuesday, everybody. Goodbye. We love you.